Chapter 771. The house they were going to live in was still under construction. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's honey strategy worked a little. It was reflected in the Yamen's recruitment of bailiffs. Originally there were not many bailiffs in the state, mainly because there was little money to be made and the monthly salary was not much. Unless they had no other choice, they would only come to the Yamen to work. In addition, the previous provincial governor was more stingy. His family was poor, but he still gave gifts to others. As a result, he was not willing to give any benefits to the people working in the Yamen. Otherwise, the registrar would not go back home to work for the spring plowing. If they wanted to eat, they had to work hard. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's honey strategy was a loss-making business. They took out their own money to subsidize the people in the Yamen, increasing their monthly salary by 5 times. Get a few people, follow me out for a walk. The weather was good today. There were no clouds for thousands of miles. The breeze was not as cold as when they first arrived. After a few continuous rains, the weather gradually warmed up. The temperature in Dalian was relatively comfortable. Zhang Xiaobao decided to go out and have a look. He wanted to interact more with the local people. With a call, 20 bodyguards came over and followed Zhang Xiaobao out of the Yamen. The drum outside the Yamen was put up again. The door was fixed, but recently no one beat the drum. After asking the bailiffs, they found out that if there was something wrong, they would not come to the Yamen. Because if they wanted to complain, they would need to take out some money first. The previous provincial governor was very good at making money. There were no decent counties in the area, so there was no need for a county magistrate. The Yamen was in charge of everything in the state. If they wanted to complain, they had to bring a lawsuit, which was the complaint paper. There were few people in the area who could read, so they had to find someone in the Yamen who could write. At least 5 copper coins were needed to write a lawsuit. They only accepted cash and not things. If they had to take something, it had to be something worth 10 copper coins. As a result, the local people developed a habit. That was, if something really happened, the people in the village would settle it themselves. The people in the city would look for the older people in the village to help mediate. They would not complain to the Yamen at all because they could not afford to spend money. Zhang Xiaobao heard a very strange thing from the Yamen runner. That was, one person beat another person to death. Similarly, it was not through the Yamen, but through a local person. This person was responsible for the lives of the 2 families. And even the other person's wife was responsible. This could be considered an advantage because the bailiff said that the wife of the person who was beaten to death was prettier than the wife who beat him. Gently patting the drum twice, Zhang Xiaobao strolled forward with his hands clasped behind his back. From time to time, he could see women carrying children on their backs and hurrying along with things on their heads. Occasionally, he would meet a few men who were squatting there and playing chess. They seemed to be very relaxed. Zhang Xiaobao knew that this was determined by the characteristics of the people. Because of the war, the number of adult men had decreased, and all men were treasures. If someone had a little bit of property, they could take several wives. The women here could work, and they were the kind that worked without complaint. If a woman had a man at home to help her when she was working, the woman would feel very happy. Usually, men rarely worked. They were only needed when there was a war. The reason why men were allowed to build houses, chop wood, and dig stones was because of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's request. They paid a lot of money, so the men were willing to come out. As he strolled, Zhang Xiaobao came to the side of a river. He saw many women bringing their children to find a comfortable place by the river and beating things with sticks. When he got closer, he found that they were beating hemp. After rotting and beating, only fiber was left. When the time came, they could be made into sacks, ropes, fishing nets, or clothes. Zhang Xiaobao didn't have a purpose in coming out, so he just squatted at the side and watched. The woman who was working just glanced at Zhang Xiaobao and the others before continuing with her work. The children, on the other hand, were playing non-stop. Perhaps it was because there were strangers here. Some of the children became more obedient, while others were playing even more happily. Zhang Xiaobao did not make a sound. He squatted down and watched. He watched as the other things on the hemp were knocked away and washed away by the water. He watched as the hard-working woman waved the stick in her hand again and again. Xiaobao waited for a woman to take out a ball of hemp and put it aside to dry. Xiaobao then went over and pinched the hemp. The woman's child immediately became vigilant, afraid that an outsider would take the hemp away. He clenched his little fists, ready to fight for his life at any time. Zhang Xiaobao quickly retracted his hand, smiled at the child, and took out a small paper bag from his sleeve. He opened it and took out a small piece of rock candy. He said to the child, "Here's a piece of candy." The child was still as vigilant as before. He didn't move forward. His eyes were fixed on Zhang Xiaobao's hand, or more accurately, on the piece of candy. He didn't move. "Take it. It's sweet when you put it in your mouth." Zhang Xiaobao leaned over and took the child's bug-ridden hand. He put the candy on it and asked, "Where's your father?" The child stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. In the end, he couldn't resist the temptation of the candy. He put the rock candy in his mouth and immediately showed a happy smile. He wasn't as vigilant as before and replied, "Sleeping at home." At this time, the other children also found that there were benefits. They all came over and looked at Zhang Xiaobao, waiting for Zhang Xiaobao to give them some candy. Zhang Xiaobao very generously distributed all the candy. Then he stood up and looked at the hardworking people. He turned around and walked away. At this time, one of Zhang Xiaobao's bodyguards came over and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Young master, they are like this. Men are rarely willing to work. As long as a man works, you can see that they are better off than others." "Yes, I know, but it's too difficult to change them. We can only use other methods. Let's go back. When we return to the yamen, we will post a notice." Zhang Xiaobao was a little angry. It was work, so why did it have to be done by women? Men still wanted status and wanted to be lazy. He had to organize them so that they couldn't be lazy. After they got used to it, things would be much better here. When he returned to the yamen, Zhang Xiaobao immediately wrote a few notices with the same content and had people post them. He also stood beside the notices and explained them to the people who came over. The content was very simple. It was to recruit workers and farm. The land here was the land, but Zhang Xiaobao had bought a lot of it. They were all mountains. When he bought them, they were cheap. Zhang Xiaobao didn't care if people accused him of using his position to make things easier for himself. After buying the mountains, he recruited local workers. First, he cut down the trees on the mountains and then made them into terraced fields. Next, he planted food. Although the best time for spring plowing had passed, Zhang Xiaobao still planned to have people plant rice. At most, he could harvest it later. Besides, the climate in Dalian was good, and the rice grew quickly. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao sent a group of people to the north. He gave them weapons and salt and allowed them to take the initiative to attack when they were threatened. He wanted to explore the Mo first and then continue to investigate the other side to see if it was possible to cross between the two continents. This matter couldn't be done immediately. It would take at least half a year, and they might not be able to reach the strait. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan went to a remote place. The capital seemed to be less lively. Those who were usually thinking about Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't mention it in the capital. After all, Jili province was too far away. It was also a remote place, so it wouldn't be valued. Compared to Buxin province, many people wanted to arrange for their own people to be officials, but no one expected to do so in Jili province. They didn't believe that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's ability was so great that they could turn a sparsely populated place into a bustling place. Moreover, there were many mountains there. Recently, those who were quick-witted had put their attention on the bank. The great Tang bank was getting bigger and bigger. Every day there were people coming to deposit money, and at the same time there were people coming to withdraw money. The deposit fee was much lower than that of other banks. Therefore, more people came to deposit money. Most of them were businessmen. In this way, it would be more convenient for them to go to other places where there was a bank. After a period of time, the money in the bank increased and gradually stabilized. They were now able to lend money to the outside world. This was the matter of interest to those who were smart. They all wanted to borrow money from the great Tang Bank to do things. Just as many people's attention was gradually shifting, a saying suddenly became popular in the capital. It was to become a soldier to protect one's country, to protect one's family, and to protect the emperor. This was not a recruitment, but a compulsory soldier. It was said that the imperial court would soon recruit compulsory soldiers from the great Tang. The 3-year military system meant that the soldiers had to be trained. If there was a war, they would go to the battlefield. After 3 years, the selected soldiers would stay and continue to be soldiers. But this time they wouldn't be in vain. Instead, they would get money. If they couldn't stay, they would get a sum of money to go home. The feeling it gave was similar to that of a recruitment system, but the connotation was different. Even if they were both paid, the compulsory soldiers would receive less money. If that was the case, no one would be willing to be a conscript. More importantly, the news that came out said that anyone who became a conscript would not only receive a sum of money after 3 years, but would also be given good jobs to do. This was the most attractive part of it. But in the end, rumors were just rumors. The imperial court hadn't really said that they were going to do this, and there was no accurate information. This made many people wait and see. The rumors grew more and more intense, and finally, it reached the imperial court. The officials, Gao Lishir and Li Longji, naturally heard about it from the mouths of others. On this day, Li Longji summoned Gao Lishir, Zhang Shua, and a few other people he could speak with. He asked them where this matter had come from. Your Majesty, this subject thinks that it isn't important where it first came from. What's important is that it needs to be clarified immediately. Otherwise, the recruitment system will be over. The most attractive part of this new rumor is that they will be given jobs after 3 years. When the time comes, if the recruited soldiers insist that the imperial court do this, how will the imperial court arrange a position for them? Zhang Shua was the most anxious about this matter. He was the one who proposed to reduce the border troops. He was the one who proposed to consolidate the troops in the capital. He had used money to recruit them. Could be said that he had contributed the most. If the other method was really done, his contribution would be reduced imperceptibly. Thus he raised an objection first. At this time, Zhang Jiuling also said, Your Majesty, it's not just this. Perhaps the person who spread the rumor felt that the effect wasn't good enough, so he added another condition. That is, those who stay 3 years later can become officials and hold a position in the Ministry of War. This is the most attractive thing. To become an official, one needs to pass the examination or receive the favor of one's elders. Many ordinary people are waiting for the imperial court to turn the rumor into reality. This subject has heard from people from other places that such rumors have also started to spread in other places. It is said that protecting the Great Tang is a matter of honor. The people of the Great Tang have to protect the dignity of the Great Tang. The country is a country, and without a country there is no home. It is also said that if one person becomes a soldier, the whole family will be honored. There is even a song, If you don't become a soldier, I don't become a soldier. Who will protect the motherland? Who will protect the home? Who will protect the mother? Who will protect her? Other than these, it is also said that if someone in the family is chosen to become a soldier, this family will be able to receive tax exemption. During the holidays, they can even receive food or other things sent by the imperial court. These rumors are too frightening. It is said that many people in many places want to become soldiers. I don't know who started this rumor. We have to think of a way, otherwise all the places will be in chaos. Li Longji really didn't know that things had developed to such an extent. He didn't have any thoughts of becoming a conscript either. Listening to Zhang Shua and Zhang Jiuling's words, he felt that it was very familiar. Your Majesty, this method can't be used by others. This subject thinks that it's best to ask Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. With their ability, they should be able to guess who is behind this rumor. As soon as Bai Shu heard Zhang Jiuling's words, he knew who it was. Other than Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, he couldn't find anyone else. The rumor was too powerful, but he couldn't say it in the absence of evidence. He could only take a detour and remind the emperor. Li Longji finally remembered. Zhang Xiaobao had mentioned it that day, but he said that they still needed to cooperate with other aspects. Now it was Zhang Xiaobao who did it. The so-called cooperation was naturally a rumor. At the same time, Zhang Shua also figured it out. He felt helpless and sullen and said, "Your Majesty, what Zhang Xiaobao is doing can easily ruin the Tang Empire. We must not let him continue. We should send a strict decree to Jili province to tell Zhang Xiaobao to stop immediately." "I don't think it's appropriate. Since Zhang Xiaobao can think of a way. He naturally has a solution. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family have a lot of business. If the rumor is really released by him and Wang Wan, they will definitely be able to solve the problem of the placement of the soldiers 3 years later. Why don't we ask them what they plan to do?" Old Man Pai immediately opposed Zhang Shua. He still believed in Zhang Shua's ability, especially in terms of propaganda. It was much better than directly using money to recruit soldiers. Even if the regional commanders wanted to raise a private army, it would not be as easy as it was now. Li Longji also thought of this. He was also worried that the regional commanders had too much power when recruiting soldiers. Zhang Xiaobao had also mentioned that if the regional commanders had too much power, it would be difficult to control them. To put it bluntly, it would be a rebellion. Thinking of this, Li Longji looked at Gao Lishur, hoping that Gao Lishur would stand out and say something. It was also the first time Gao Lishur had encountered this. He really couldn't think of the specific benefits and disadvantages. Seeing the emperor looking at him, he could only tell the emperor what he had just thought of. "Your Majesty, this subject thinks that this subject can write a letter and send it home to ask Xiaobao what his plans are. Let him list out the matters of recruiting soldiers according to the plan his family made when they were local officials." The moment he said this, he was certain that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were the masterminds behind this. Only they were bold enough to casually spread rumors. If it were anyone else, even Zhang Zhong who was still in Luoyang, they would not dare. How could they recklessly talk about the military system? Li Longji and Wei Wei nodded. Then Li Shi should write a letter and tell Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan that if they want to do anything in the future, they should first inform us. If there's one more time, we will be angry. Li Longji was also very helpless. These two brats were really troublesome, always causing trouble. They had already gone to Jili province, but instead of thinking about how to properly develop there, they still had the leisure to spread rumors all over Great Tang. Could it be that the small population of Jili province was not enough to make things difficult for the two of them? Gao Lishur immediately began to write the letter. Zhang Shua's complexion was extremely ugly. He could see the extent to which the emperor was indulging Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. If it had been anyone else, the emperor would have long sent soldiers to capture them and bring them back to the capital. If it was said that the people of Great Tang were starting to accept the rumors that it was possible to rule over the land, then the rumors in the Anong Protectorate were even more formidable. Not only did the rumors include the matters in Great Tang, there was also an additional content. That was to say, if anyone who joined the army to protect Great Tang and the emperor died in battle, their family would be taken care of by the imperial court, and their children would be able to attend schools without spending a single copper coin. At the same time, it was said that Great Tang was the true motherland, that the emperor was the only one, and that all soldiers had to listen to the emperor. As soon as the rumors spread, those who had soldiers in their hands were unhappy. This was because their soldiers did not have a good life, especially their children. There was no mention of them being able to attend schools for free just because they were soldiers. Even if they wanted to, there would need to be so many schools. If this was not enough to shake the morale of the soldiers, then the rumors that those who joined the army did not need to carry their own weapons or armor, and could even eat 3 meals a day with meat for every meal and drink wine once every 10 days, really made those who had soldiers in their hands start to hate them. They could clearly feel that their soldiers were hesitating, and they were not as loyal as before. They did not have the spirit during training, and when they fought better, they would hide their thoughts. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had no choice but to do this. They needed people, so how could they attract people over? They said that they would exempt them from taxes, but now they were not paying. They said that they would give them good land if they came over. Who were they trying to fool? It was all hills, where could they get so much good land? They said that they would build workshops and give more money, but they needed someone to get the benefits first. Therefore, the two of them discussed for a while and started to work while they were helping the imperial court to recruit conscripts. At this time they felt that the time was right. 500 yeoman runners were in place, and the gunships would arrive in half a month. The two of them started the next step, the conscription. After finding Xue Daobao, Zhang Xiaobao said to him, "This time I will give you a very important task. You must find a way to complete it. If you do well, I will immediately promote you, build a good house for your family, and give you more salary, at least twice as much as now." Hearing Zhang Xiaobao's words, Xue Daobao immediately became spirited. He patted his chest and promised, "Sir, don't worry. Even if it is a mountain of knives or a sea of flames, I dare to try. It's not that serious. You don't have to go through a mountain of knives or a sea of flames. Go to other states and spread the important news. That is, Jili state has started to recruit soldiers. Anyone who is willing to come over will have 3 meals a day with meat and 1 drink every 10 days. Their family members will also come. Even if their family members don't work, the Yamen of Jili state will provide for them. If their family members are sick, the Yamen will treat them for free. Their children will go to school in the state. After 3 years, if they are good enough to continue to be a soldier, they will be paid. If they don't want to be a soldier, they will get 30 strings of coins. During the war, if they are injured and can't work, the Yamen will take care of them. If they die in the war, their family members will be the Yamen's family members. Go spread the news. If it were someone else, I would be worried. You have to be careful too. Don't let the soldiers catch you. Take a few more people with you. If you are caught, send someone back to report. I will do everything I can to save you." Zhang Xiaobao began to assign tasks to Xue Daobao. He said one by one. Xue Daobao was surprised with each task. When Zhang Xiaobao finished, Xue Daobao's saliva had already wet the front of his clothes. Xue Daobao wiped his mouth with his sleeve and swallowed. He said with difficulty, "Sir, it's easy to spread the news. But if they really come, what do you have to make them soldiers? Do you really have a school? Do you really dare to provide for their family? Do you really give them meat and wine? If you can't provide them, they will destroy the Yamen. I'm a man of my word. Just do as I say. When the time comes, I'll send someone to the border to pick you up." "Oh." Zhang Xiaobao promised Xue Dao. Xue Daobao looked like he was going to risk it all. He nodded and said, "Sir, don't worry. I will do it for you." Saying this, Xue Daobi stood up and left. He looked like a warrior who was leaving and would not return. Looking at Xue Dao's departing figure, Zhang Xiaobao chuckled and muttered, "Who said I don't have a way to get people? Not only do I want to get people, I also want to start a war and solve this problem." Wang Wan walked in from the side door with a few pieces of paper in her hand. She said to Zhang Xiaobao, "This is going to cost a lot of money. I don't know when we will get our capital back. There's no other way. Who said that soldiers are only responsible for fighting? The military also needs soldiers. When the time comes, I will find a way to get our capital back. Don't worry." Zhang Xiaobao was not worried. As long as the problem of population was solved, this place could be developed. After all, he was going to stay in this place for a few more years. After the construction was done, it would be another foundation for his family. Since he had decided to recruit soldiers, Zhang Xiaobao could not hide it from Li Longji. Why would a lower province need so many soldiers? He had to inform Li Longji. He immediately wrote a letter. Before Gao Lisher's letter arrived, a pigeon arrived in the capital. Gao Lisher received the letter and read the contents. He did not know what to say. He could only come to find Li Longji. At this time, Li Longji was looking at the models. There were already 5 models in the palace. There were only 4 in Buxin County. The 4th one had just been built. Animals and plants from all over the country were being transported to the capital. The zoo was already open. One could visit it after paying a fee. Lisher, come and look at the terrain of Hunan province. I have been there many times, but I can't see everything. Li Longji saw Gao Lisher come and quickly asked him to look. Gao Lisher was not in the mood to do that. With the letter in his hand, he came to Li Longji and said, "Your Majesty, Xiaobao has sent a letter. He wants to enlist soldiers in Jili province so that Wan, the recording officer, can have soldiers." "Oh, I know." Li Longji did not think much of it. It was good to have soldiers. He did not have to worry about Xiaobao and Cuckoo being threatened. "Your Majesty, Xiaobao wants to recruit 100,000 soldiers. The initial recruitment is 30,000. Has already started." Gao Lisher had to say something else. 100,000 soldiers is good. Many soldiers. What? How many? 100,000. What is he going to do? Is he going to rebel? Li Longji did not react at first. When he reacted, he knew that he was more or less shocked. Gao Lisher handed the letter over and said, "Your Majesty, Xiaobao said it clearly in the letter. Please read it." Li Longji had to read it carefully. The letter was quite thick. He did not know how much strength the pigeon used to fly over. Li Longji held the letter in his hand and read it from beginning to end. His eyes were out of focus and he was lost in thought. After a while, he shook his head hard and looked at Gao Lisher and asked, "Lisher, do you think this plan is feasible?" "I don't think so. This plan is too big." Gao Lisher also shook his head. He knew what was written in the letter. Zhang Xiaobao proposed to recruit 100,000 soldiers and send them all to Jili province. This plan was estimated to take 3 years to complete. The initial recruitment of 30,000 soldiers would be carried out immediately. After the soldiers were recruited, they would not be placed in Jili province. Instead, they would be scattered and transported to other places, such as the border between Tubo and Tibet or the border between Turkey and Turks. They would let other places receive them. At the same time, other places would send 10,000 soldiers to supplement the soldiers in Jili province. In this way, there would be no need to worry about the officials in the places where the soldiers were sent to rebel. After all, the soldiers had family members in Jili province. When the 10,000 soldiers arrived in Jili province, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would command the soldiers to fight. There would be no need to worry that the soldiers would hesitate in front of their family members. Their family members were in other places, so it was impossible for them to rebel. Then Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would use this part of the soldiers to continue to occupy the north. They would search for good things there and turn the people there into Tang people. This plan was simply too massive. While the northern side seemed to belong to the Great Tang on the map, it was actually impossible to manage. There were few people and the weather was cold. In these circumstances, the northern side was essentially the territory of the Great Tang in name, and they couldn't really pay any taxes there. The plan was good, but the problem was whether it could be completed. After all, they were not familiar with the north. Moreover, the road was difficult to travel. It was easy for many people to go there and never come back. That was what Li Longji was thinking as well. It would be a lie to say that he did not intend to expand his territory. However, expanding his territory was not an easy task. He did not know what was in the north and whether he would encounter any powerful enemies. After reading the letter again, Li Longji said, "Xiaobao wants me to take a look at the conscripts. He is preparing to go there first. If it's done, we will do as they say. Soldiers are not supposed to manage the local area. It is indeed reassuring to use them. The only thing we are worried about is that the soldiers sent there bully the local people. Don't let others know about this. Let Xiaobao try there. We will know whether it is successful or not." Li Longji agreed. Gao Lisher continued to send letters to the other side. Half a month passed by in a hurry. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's house was finally built. The main house could be lived in, but the other courtyards still needed to be built. Recently, the people in Jili province were all mobilized. Even the slightly older children helped. Some were cutting trees, some were looking after the trees. Some were working on the land. The school was built first, and the workshop was being built. The charcoal kiln for burning charcoal was also completed. Shwe Daobi successfully spread the news. At the beginning, the people who had soldiers in other places did not realize it. 10,000 soldiers with their families came to Jili province. 10,000 soldiers with their families were not 10,000. There were more than 40,000 people. When these people arrived at Jili province, they were arranged to find a place to build their own houses. From Hunan province, ships came and went from Jili province to Jili province. All kinds of things needed were sent here, including the seafood and charcoal from the first kiln. In this way, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had been losing money. Charcoal and seafood were not worth much in Hunan province. If they wanted to sell them at a good price, they had to continue to transport them to the deeper areas. The travel expenses were not small. After all, if the two people's ships did not help to transport things, they could make more money elsewhere. Zhang Xiaobao was a man of his word. He really did provide all the daily necessities for the 40,000 people who arrived later. The 10,000 soldiers were also able to eat 3 meals a day, with meat in every meal. After the 10,000 soldiers came, the others found that the yamen in Jili province did keep its word. They also started to think about it. Especially when they knew that a school was built for the children and there was someone to teach them how to read and write. Even if the people in other places did not think for themselves, they also hoped that the next generation could be successful. Another 10,000 people who were willing to become soldiers came to Jili province. At this time, the local people who had soldiers in their hands realized and wanted to stop the people from moving to Jili province. At first, they thought that Jili province could not do what they said. They thought that they could take this opportunity to let the people in the past make trouble. Then, they could drive away the officials sent by the imperial court. It would be better if there were no officials from the imperial court who came from other places. They only wanted their own people to stay. Even when the first batch of people came, they were still waiting to see what would happen. They thought that the officials in Jili province would run out of money soon. They did not know that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were rich. When they found out that ships of food and daily necessities were sent from Hunan province, they found that things were not good. At this time, the second batch of 10,000 soldiers came with their families. When they were thinking of ways to stop them, they found out who the new officials in Jili province were. They had also heard about the legendary story of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. For a moment they felt that they were in big trouble. At first, they thought that the people in Beijing were sending them here. Now, it seemed that this was definitely not the case. They must have felt that there were many places that did not pay rent and wanted to muddy the waters. The news that Zhang Xiaobao wanted to recruit 30,000 soldiers in the beginning, but there was still a gap of 10,000 people spread. As a result, there were more deserters. They left the army and secretly came to Jili province with their families and belongings. The people who thought that they still had a chance also started to move. Those who had soldiers under their command had no choice but to keep a tight watch on their soldiers and send people to the borders of the states to stop them. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also sent people to wait at the state border. As long as someone came, they could continue to go to the state capital. Those who wanted to stop were all stopped by them and were not allowed to go. The public security personnel in the state were 500 yamen runners sent from Sanshui County and Huayuan County. The guards brought by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were fully armed and came to the state border. They were given a lot of power. If they thought that the other party was a threat, they could attack in advance. However, the guards could not cross the state border to pick up people. As a result, many people were stopped before they reached the state border. They could see on both sides but could not go to help. Since this method did not work, they changed to another way. They went by water. Zhang Xiaobao sent ships to go around and started to pick up people at other places near the sea. Daxing City was in the east of Jili State, so it was not under the control of Jili State. Zhang Xiaobao sent more than 100 ships at once. According to the calculation, each ship could carry 20 people. One round trip could transport 2,000 people back. They just had to make a few more rounds. In Daxing City, there was a family with the surname Li, which was popular now. He was from Xinlua. He had a very important mission here. One was to protect Daxing City, and the other was to make sure that the people in this area were from Xinlua. He was also the mayor of Daxing City. He had 1,500 soldiers under him. In addition to the normal army, he also had many ships to protect Daxing City. After all, Daxing City was very close to the sea. There were also people in Daxing City who wanted to go to Idyllic State. Not only did they not have to spend money to buy food there, but they could also get land. The production of the land was earned by themselves. Moreover, there was a school there. After Li Qingying, the mayor of Daxing City, also sent people to stop them outside Idyllic State. As for those who had already gone, he wrote a letter to Zhang Xiaobao and asked Zhang Xiaobao to let them go back. Zhang Xiaobao did not refuse immediately. He agreed and said that he would send them back once they were found. As for when they would be found, it would have to wait for Idyllic State to adjust the household registration system. However, while he was agreeing, the ships on the other side passed by the sea. Li Qingying put all his energy into intercepting them on the land. He sent almost all of his 1,500 soldiers to form a thin line of defense to prevent the people from going to Idyllic State. At this moment the ships came. After they greeted outside the city, the people who regretted not going out earlier crowded to the seaside and left happily on the ships. By the time Li Qingying received the exact news, more than 4,000 people had already disappeared. Mayor, we have to guard against them on the sea too. Li Qingying's advisor found Li Qingying and said. Li Qingying had been very worried recently. The main reason was that many people were willing to take a long detour in order to leave Daxing City. It was impossible to guard against 1,500 people. If all the people lived in the city, it would be fine. Once the city was sealed, there would be no need to worry about people going out. The problem was that many people lived in their own villages. It was impossible to send people to seal all the villages. At this moment, when he heard the advisor's words, he felt his head buzzing. He rubbed his temples and asked the advisor, "Do we have to send people to intercept them on the sea again?" "No, we can't stop them now. Zhang Xiaobao in Idyllic State will not let them go. We have to think of a way to make them not dare to take people from Daxing City. Otherwise, there will be no people in Daxing City. Now, people in the surrounding areas are still gathering here, thinking of going to Idyllic State." The advisor knew that it was useless to stop them. Even if they could stop them for a while, they couldn't stop them forever. Moreover, it wouldn't take long for Daxing City to become an empty city. Of course, Li Qingying wanted to think of a good way to make Zhang Xiaobao obediently send people back. He thought for a while and said, "Should we send troops?" "Send troops. Yes, but not in the name of Daxing City. We can use the name of bandits on the sea. As long as we sink the next ship sent by Idyllic State and capture their people, we can use them to threaten Zhang Xiaobao." The advisor was smarter and came up with this idea. Li Qingying couldn't think of a better idea. He gritted his teeth and made up his mind. He said, "I will send people to pretend to be bandits. Do you really think that officials sent from the capital are powerful here? If you push me too far, I will also kill people." Li Qingying had a plan. Soon 300 of the 1,500 people sent out came back. Every 5 people were on a ship. They didn't have any markings on them, and they carried weapons. They went out to sea in 60 small boats, ready to intercept the ships sent by Idyllic State. He wanted to catch all of them in one fell swoop. As soon as he moved, the people sent by Zhang Xiaobao, who were watching with binoculars at sea, knew what was going on. They quickly hid from the other party's sight and sent the news to Idyllic State. "I was worried about not having a place to test the cannons. I didn't expect you to send me a gift." "Good, very good. Someone, send a letter to Li Qingying, the Lord of Daxing City. Ask him if the sea route is safe recently. I want to send more ships to transport goods." When Zhang Xiaobao heard this, he was very happy. He asked someone to send a letter to Li Qingying quickly, telling him that the ships here wouldn't move for the time being. Soon Li Qingying replied. He said that during this time, pirates occasionally appeared on the sea. Daxing City was thinking of ways to encircle and suppress them, but the results were not good. He hoped that Zhang Xiaobao would be more careful. Zhang Xiaobao was waiting for this letter. As long as Li Qingying admitted that there were pirates when the time came, he would say that he was helping Daxing City to eliminate the pirates. Once again, the boats carrying people left the temporarily built pier and headed towards Daxing City. More than 100 small boats formed a small team. Seeing that they were about to reach the border of Daxing City, the 60 ships sent by Daxing City finally moved. They didn't wait for more than 100 small boats to come closer. They rushed over at the fastest speed, wanting to stop more than 100 boats. After all, there were only 2 people rowing on each boat. They weren't soldiers, so they should be easy to deal with. When the 100 small boats saw the ships rushing over, they turned around and ran back. They didn't continue to move forward. Chapter 772. The people on the 60 boats shouted as they chased. The distance between them was getting closer. They were strong, and there were many people who took turns to row the boats. The 100 boats that were running did not reply. They used all their strength to row the boats as fast as they could. In the midst of the chase, the 160 ships were getting further and further away from the shore. The group in front of them ran in a curve, closing the distance between the 2 sides. If they stopped and did not run, it would only take them a quarter of an hour to catch up. The pirates on the 60 boats did not care which direction the other party ran in. As long as they could catch up, they would let them know the price of running. They would be exhausted to death. After another hour of chasing, the distance was getting closer. They estimated that they would catch up in another quarter of an hour. The distance was about 4 miles. At this time, the people on both sides were struggling to control the boats. In the deep sea, the waves were not as beautiful as when they were at the seaside. There were not many splashes, but this was the most dangerous place. When a wave came, the boat would be swerved. "Captain, they actually ran here. When we catch them, I must let them know how powerful we are." A person who had just been replaced swung his arm and complained to the captain of the action team. The captain frowned. He felt that something was wrong. Logically speaking, the 100 boats should be running directly in the direction of Jili State. Although they could not escape, it was better than running here. If they were not careful, the boats would capsize. Just as he was puzzled, 6 big boats suddenly appeared in his field of vision. They were very big boats with full sails. They were very fast. It did not look like they were passing by. Instead, they were heading in this direction. Before the captain could figure out what was going on, the big ship quickly approached them. The 100 small boats in front of them suddenly scattered, making way for the big ship. What boat is that? Is it a big cargo boat? Or a soldier boat? The captain asked blankly. The 4 people on the boat shook their heads, indicating that they were not sure. They stopped rowing and waited to see what was going on. They stopped moving, but the big boats started to turn their rudders. The sails also changed. The hull gradually turned horizontally and formed a line. Without waiting for the 60 ships to get a clear look, a rumbling sound came from the big ship. Then, countless black dots suddenly appeared in the air and flew towards them. "What is this? Bird?" the captain muttered. Before he could finish, the black dot landed first. A few ships were directly hit by the black dot, and with a boom, the entire ship was gone. A pillar of water rose up from the surface of the sea, and there were even more black dots that did not hit the ship. Instead, they smashed into the water, and there were also quite a few that caused a huge commotion, causing pillars of water to rise up. The black dot that landed beside the small boat not only brought out a water pillar, but also many things that flew out and destroyed the boat. After this round of fighting, the big ship began to turn again to reveal the other side. At this time, there were only 37 boats left. The people on the boats finally knew what the other ship wanted to do. Although they didn't know what was flying towards them, they understood that the other party wanted their lives. They no longer cared about chasing the small boats in front of them. They turned their boats around and fled in the direction they came from. At this moment they did not feel tired, and their arms were not sore. They rowed the boats as if they were flying on water. On one of the big boats, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were looking through their binoculars. There were 6 big boats, and each boat had 40 cannons. After firing once, someone had to clean the cannons. That was why they had to turn to the other side after firing. There were 20 cannons on each side, but there were no bow cannons or stern cannons. A total of 120 cannons had been fired. Because the 60 boats were relatively close to each other, they were able to destroy 23 boats at once. However, this result did not satisfy Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. The cannons did not all explode. I only saw a dozen of them. One of them had already hit the boat, but it did not explode. Seems that it still needs to be improved. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao did not let the big boats fire anymore. He sent the small boats to save the people. It was not that if the boat was damaged, the people would die. Some people were still floating on the water. When the group left, they were all trying to save their own lives. No one went to save their companions. Wang Wan nodded. This improvement process is not easy. We can only use it now. It's better than not having any cannons. It's the technology that can't keep up. We must preserve the cannons well. We can't let them rust. Otherwise it will be another Jiawu. In addition to the tactical problems, there are also problems with weapons and morale. Let's not talk about this first. I'll chase after them. I want to see where the rest of their boats are going. Zhang Xiaobao did not worry about the cannons. After giving the order, the big boats chased after the escaping boats. He did not chase all of them. He left one behind, afraid that the small boat here would accidentally capsize. The big boats turned slowly, but they moved faster than the small boats. They moved with full sail, getting closer and closer to the escaping boats in front. When they reached a certain distance, the big boats slowed down a little. The so-called slowing down was to move in a zigzag pattern. Every time the big boats did this, the small boats in front would be able to move a little faster. They were afraid that the big boats would turn sideways, and then there would be another explosion. After a chase, the people on the small boats finally returned to the big boats when they were almost out of energy. Zhang Xiaobao's boat suddenly sped up, then stopped, put down the small boat and continued to chase. The small boat's speed was very fast. There were 4 people on each boat. One person was in charge of the direction, one person was idle, and the other 2 people were there at full speed. Behind the small boat, there was a splash of water, and the boat quickly caught up. The escaping people had never seen such fast boats. They used the last of their strength and ran as fast as they could. When the boats behind them were about to catch up, the 37 boats finally hit the beach and were stranded there. The people on the boats jumped off and ran in the water. There were 20 small boats behind them. There were 4 people on each boat, so the 80 people were stranded there. They jumped off and continued to chase. They were the last ones to come down, so they had enough strength. They quickly caught up with the people running in front of them. The people running could not run anymore. They gritted their teeth and turned around. They picked up their weapons and faced the 80 people who were chasing them. They looked like they were going to fight to the death. Put down your weapons and don't kill. You evil pirates, you still want to run. Come with us to see Daxing City's Lord Li. We'll deal with you then. The 80 people who were chasing them stood in front of the remaining 180 people and shouted loudly. There were still people waiting to move. Just as they were wondering why the boats had not arrived, they saw people coming ashore one after another. Some of the commoners immediately recognized a few of the more than 180 people and shouted, "They are not pirates. They are the army of Daxing City." Oh, I see. Daxing City's army pretended to be pirates and went to rob us. We need to talk to Li Qingying about this. The leader of the 80 people said angrily, pretending to be enlightened. People were also stunned. They looked at the soldiers of Daxing City in disbelief. They wanted to hear their explanation. "We're not soldiers of Daxing City, we're pirates." One of the more than 180 people suddenly shouted out loud. As soon as he finished shouting, the captain who was lucky enough to survive slapped him in the face. He turned around and pretended to be relaxed as he said, "You've got the wrong person. We're not pirates, we're soldiers of Daxing City. Who ordered you to chase us and slander us as pirates?" The quick-witted soldier next to him immediately echoed, "Yes, we went out to sea to catch pirates, but just as we were about to catch them, we were suddenly attacked by you, and many of our people were injured or killed. Where are you from? Who ordered you to attack Daxing City's soldiers?" The first ones who didn't believe such a lie were the surrounding people. They weren't stupid, so it didn't take them long to figure out that Li Qingying, the city lord of Daxing City, must have pretended to be a pirate and attacked those 100 ships in order to prevent them from leaving by ship. However, they were not as strong as those people. They were beaten up, so they started to deny it. The 80 people who chased them knew what they were going to say, so they did not argue. They just said that they wanted to see Daxing City's Lord Li Qingying and talk to him face to face. Zhang Xiaobao sent out small boats from the big ship. The people on the boats were there to talk about this. They pulled back the boats with propellers and put down the ordinary boats. On one hand, the 80 people followed the 180 people into the city to find Li Qingying. On the other hand, they used small boats to pull the local people onto the big ship. This time they pulled a lot of people, and it was the last batch to leave Daxing City. There were not many people left in Daxing City. What happened next was simple. Daxing City and Jili Province argued back and forth, blaming each other for the mistake, while they stood on the side of justice. This went on for a few months, and then they sent letters to the capital city. Li Qingying even threatened to use force to retaliate. However, after a few days, he did not send a single boat to take revenge. Not only did he not do anything, but when Zhang Xiaobao went to other places to pull people, the other side did not send ships to stop him. One was that Jili Province had almost 30,000 soldiers, so he could not pull too many people away. The other was the most important one, so no one dared to. When the people sent by Li Qingying came back, they reported the situation at sea. There were 6 big boats, very big, fast and stable. When they were still far away, they suddenly stopped. Then it was like thunder. 23 boats were destroyed and many people died. What hit them? They did not know. How did it hit them? But it was definitely not a catapult. Catapults could not hit so far away, and it would not be like thunder. Li Qingying was scared. He was afraid that the Tang Emperor would attack here. This place was nominally under the control of the Tang Empire. He did not expect that what he feared would happen. It seemed that he could not count on a naval battle. In the past, he could not win against the Tang Empire in naval battles. Now that the Tang Empire sent the 2 most powerful people here, it would be difficult to deal with them in the future. The others also had the same thought. In the past, they had inquired about how powerful the new provincial governor and registrar general were. They didn't see it with their own eyes, but this time they knew. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were not in the mood to start a war with others immediately. They had to stabilize the situation and then deal with others through other means. When others wanted to fight back, they would fight. Now they were busy settling the people who came. The 30,000 soldiers had been gathered, and after a period of time, they would be sent to other places. When the time came, they would first stay in the bustling areas and be separated. They would still be given 3 meals a day with meat for every meal. When they were sent to the borders, they would be given ideological and political education so that they would know why they were fighting. They had to embody the spirit of hardship and simplicity. Those who wanted to continue to have meat for 3 meals a day would be threatened to send them back. Furthermore, their families would not care. This idea was very immoral, but Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were also helpless. If the 30,000 soldiers stayed in Jili Province, they could still afford to feed them. The problem was that they were sent to other places. If they continued to feed them like this, what about the other soldiers? They could not afford to feed them. As for the families of the soldiers who came here, it was easy to deal with them. The soldiers were protecting the country at the front, so they would be provided with normal food and daily necessities, free education and free medical care. When Li Longji felt that it was about time and was ready to implement it throughout the country, they would ask Li Longji for money to make up for the losses in Jili province. If it was not enough, they would fight for it. If it was not enough, they would need some policies. The families of the soldiers were now being settled. They were given land, but the land needed to be rented. They could also arrange shops for them. These shops also needed to be paid taxes. Xue Daobi was now promoted. He did well. He was promoted to sector general and managed the population. He did not need to manage the money. Sector General Xue was very happy. His salary really increased. His family built a good house. He was now a famous person in this area. He followed Zhang Xiaobao and was busy. He also asked about how they could use ships to release mines. That day, Sector General Xue sorted out the number of people who came here and the local people. When he went to investigate, the people were very cooperative. They were afraid that he would leave someone behind. That was related to the ration of food and other things. The local people could also get the same treatment if their family had joined the army. As for those who did not join the army, they could not. They only cared about the children going to school and did not care about the rest. Unless there was no man in the family, they would care about it. The 30,000 soldiers brought more than 130,000 family members. Large families would send one person out of every 5 people. Small families would send one person out. 130,000 people. Including the original people in Jili province, there were still 130,000 people. The food that so many people ate every day was not a small amount. In order to improve his relationship with Zhang Xiaobao, Sector General Xue took the book about the population and found Zhang Xiaobao. Darren, why don't you think of a way? Do you know how many people eat in a day? Sector General Xue looked very anxious. Zhang Xiaobao was drawing things on the map. He wanted to make the economy here prosperous. When he heard Sector General Xue's words, he nodded. I know a lot. There is also the oil they use and the cloth to make clothes. There is also the 2 eggs that each child gets in school every day. Darren, why are you still taking it out? Sector General Xue seemed to be spending his own money. Zhang Xiaobao put down the pen and sighed. Can I not take it? The emperor treats me and Cuckoo differently from other people. Others don't have to pay taxes, but we have to. Without people, who will farm? Without people, how can I do business? Sector General Xue was also in a dilemma. He suddenly asked, why? He is the emperor. How can he bully people like this? This was a crime, but Zhang Xiaobao didn't care and said, isn't that so? It's too unreasonable. Didn't he just give both of our families an official title? Didn't he just allow me and Cuckoo to enter and leave the imperial palace as we please? Didn't he just let us manage the Tang Bank, which is the most likely to cause trouble but also the most profitable? Isn't it just a matter of Cuckoo and I killing any local official we want to kill before we tell him? Didn't he just? Zhang Xiaobao said one after another. At the beginning, Sector General Xue was on the same side as Zhang Xiaobao. After Zhang Xiaobao finished all the "didn't he just say," Sector General Xue finally felt that Li Longji was actually quite pitiful. He was a good person. No wonder Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were sent here. They weren't sent away, they were used as pillars. It seemed that following Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan was the right choice. They actually had such a big advantage over the emperor. He didn't expect that even Xiaobei and the others could unite to impeach someone. They were given too much power. Thinking like this, Sector General Xue felt that he should say a few words on behalf of the good emperor. Darren, this little one understands. The emperor will be very happy when he knows what Darren has done. Do you need to say that? We took the money ourselves. How can he not be happy? We can't get the money back. We have to find a way to earn it back here. Zhang Xiaobao immediately knew what Sector General Shui was thinking. Then how do we earn it? We're spending money now. Sector General Shui was very curious. Let me ask you, under normal circumstances, can you support your family by working for others? Zhang Xiaobao asked. Sector General Shui replied. Then do you think that merchants don't earn a single copper coin and give all the money to the people who work? Zhang Xiaobao asked again. How is that possible? Merchants are black-hearted. It's good enough that they give the people who work for them 1 copper coin for every 10 copper coins they earn. Sector General Shui answered again. In that case, all I'm doing is paying them double the wage. I'll get them to work for me, and I'll pay them double the wage. I'll still be the one who earns the most. It's better than having no one to work for. All the people here came with the army, and none of them are very rich. Therefore, I'll be the one to sell the things they make here. I'll ship the other things they need from other places and sell them at a higher price. Zhang Xiaobao's words were very clear. He was using the wage once to support the people. When the time came, the people would get an extra wage. Even if the double wage didn't affect the profits. Sector General Shui nodded in admiration. He really didn't think of this problem. Darren, what if merchants from other places also come to compete with you for business? Won't they? Sector General Shui made a beheading gesture as he spoke. Zhang Xiaobao was so angry that he laughed. What are you thinking? It's better if other merchants come. This place will definitely prosper. When the time comes, the provinces can pay more taxes. I'll lose money, but I'll gain political benefits. Alright, you do what you need to do. I'll write a letter to the emperor and complain about the money spent. Chapter 773. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were very satisfied with the 130,000 people in Jili province, although it was not worth mentioning compared to Dalian in the future. It was easier to do things with people. All the children were sent to the school. It was no longer a school but a big school. The students who had fallen behind from the capital were urgently transferred to the school. The young men took out a portion of the land to build the docks and docks. Pieces of mountainous land were divided up. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan provided the tools for logging and farming. As long as they gave the wood they cut from the mountains to the two of them, it would be considered as paying for the tools and seeds. The people were not allowed to burn their own land and waste the wood. If they found any limestone and diamond mines, the government office would send people to look after them. The people who occupied the land would choose another place, and the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family would send people to help build it. The 130,000 people who came over did not care about whether the officials in Jili province were corrupt or whether the environment was polluted. They built kilns to burn charcoal for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Otherwise, the two of them would lose too much money. That day, Shui Kenjun came to find him. He had a good idea to help Zhang Xiaobao reduce the loss of money. As soon as he entered the door, before Zhang Xiaobao asked someone to serve tea, Shui Kenjun said to Zhang Xiaobao impatiently, "Sir, I have a way to make Jili province bigger." "Oh, do you mean to occupy other people's land?" Zhang Xiaobao thought Shui Kenjun wanted him to use force to annex the neighboring provinces. "Oh no. Without occupying other people's land, you can also make Jili province bigger." Shui Kenjun showed an unfathomable look. Zhang Xiaobao did not say anything, and waited for Shui Kenjun to continue. Shui Kenjun coughed lightly and said, "My lord, this humble one's idea is to order the local people to move the mountains and fill the sea. For every foot they fill, they will add another foot. They will take turns to dig the mountains and fill the sea. When the time comes, the mountains can be cultivated and the shores can be cultivated. Isn't this killing two birds with one stone?" In the beginning, Zhang Xiaobao really thought that Adjunct Shui could come up with a good idea. However, it turned out to be land reclamation. If Jili Prefecture was an isolated island with many hills and a large population, Zhang Xiaobao might consider land reclamation. However, Jili Prefecture had no value for land reclamation now or in the future. As a trading port, it was useless to reclaim so much land. Moreover, if they filled up too much, the military port would be filled up, and it would not be easy to find a natural military port. Sir, how is it? Seeing that Zhang Xiaobao was silent, Adjunct Shui asked again. Well, the idea is good, but there will be a lot of trouble when it comes to actually doing it. We can leave it for the future. Zhang Xiaobao did not directly reject Adjunct Shui's idea. He was afraid that he would dispel his enthusiasm. Even if one idea did not work, there might be more good ideas that could be used in the future. Adjunct Shui also heard it. Wei Wei was a little disappointed. She picked up the teacup and sipped the tea. Adjunct Shui, you have been working hard in the prefecture. Can the newly moved people make trouble? Zhang Xiaobao changed the topic and asked. How dare they? We will provide them with food and clothes. If anyone makes trouble, we don't need to do anything. The people next to us will deal with them. In fact, there are people from other places secretly coming to the prefecture and asking to be registered. They are willing even if they can't get food. This humble one is busy. There is still a lot of land in the prefecture. It is useless to leave it there. It is better to take it out for them to cultivate. It is short of water. It is not possible to cut down the trees and make terraced fields to grow rice. It is troublesome. There is only one big river in the prefecture, and there are many mountains. It is impossible to lead the water to other places. Adjunct Shui seemed to be in a difficult position. Zhang Xiaobao had also considered this problem. Although the prefecture was near the sea, it was also short of water. The seawater could not be used to water the crops. After thinking for a while, he said, Then we will plant beans. It is okay if the yield is low. It is not enough to grow rice with just rainwater. It is possible to grow beans. This humble one thinks so too. How about we settle down the people who came later? They do not seem to have a complete set of farming tools. Adjunct Shui agreed with Zhang Xiaobao's idea. He was prepared to get some tools from Zhang Xiaobao. Go and get the tools from the yamen. Give them to the people who came later. Tell them that their children can also go to school for free. Since there are no major issues in the prefecture, Adjunct Shui will have to worry more about the people's livelihood. Zhang Xiaobao did not want to spend his energy on this. He was almost done with managing the inner courtyard. Yes, it is my duty. Sir, this humble one will leave first. Adjunct Shui had a lot of things to do. He always wanted to use his authority. No matter whether it was big or small, he was prepared to participate. Seeing that there was nothing else, he got up and left. Seeing Adjunct Shui leave, Zhang Xiaobao began to think of something. After telling stories to her younger siblings, Wang Wan came back from class. Zhang Xiaobao had not made dinner yet. He continued to think. For Zhang Xiaobao, under normal circumstances, there was no place that could not be developed. Every place had its value. The reason why Dalian is developing so fast is mainly because it exists as a window for foreign trade. As more and more trade occurs, people from various industries come to Dalian. They want to find gold here. How to turn this place into an important trade port is a problem. As soon as Wang Wan entered the room, she saw Zhang Xiaobao sitting there with his hands on his head, listening to her muttering. Xiaobao, a trade port can't appear at will. It needs to appear with the development of the environment. We don't have that kind of environmental foundation now. Why don't we think of other ways? In class just now, Xiaozhu said that it would be great if we could attract seawater to places where there is a lack of salt. For example, we can dry more sea salt here. When the time comes, we can sell sea salt. A ship can carry a lot of sea salt. We can make salt pans by the sea. It's a profitable business with little capital. Wang Wan felt that Zhang Xiaobao was too stubborn, so she tried to persuade him. At this time, many places along the coast had learned to dry sea salt. Even if Lu Zhou tried his best to keep it a secret, it could not be kept. A large amount of salt was shipped to many places where there was a lack of salt as a commodity, allowing the officials in the coastal areas to take advantage of it. At this time, the trade of salt was not controlled by the imperial court. Jili province had not appeared yet. Wang Wan wanted to use it, although the sun here was not as good as the sun in Lingnan Circuit. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. Think about it. Let me think about it. Since we can't become a trade port, we have to think of a way to become a transit station for goods. We can become a trading company and use our own fleet to transport goods. It'll be great if we can occupy this place. Then take your time to think about it. I'm going to cook for Xiaobei and the others. Wang Wan saw that Zhang Xiaobao insisted, so she did not object. She turned around and was about to go to the kitchen. Let's go together. Cooking won't delay our thinking. Today we'll make kelp for Xiaobei and the others. Kelp farming is actually a good idea, but I don't know how to do it. How does kelp grow? Seeds. Branching. Let Pomegranate study it. She's very proficient in cultivating now. Zhang Xiaobao followed Wang Wan. Course. Pomegranate has planted ginseng in a flower pot, but it doesn't grow. She's worried about this. She transplanted dozens of them, but they all rotted. She's determined to grow ginseng. Wang Wan praised Pomegranate's spirit of research. While Zhang Xiaobao was worrying about the ratio of input to output, many people were shocked by him. Li Qingying and Zhang Xiaobao in Daxing City submitted petitions to the imperial court to attack each other. Both of them took the official route. Zhang Xiaobao did not use pigeons. Pigeons were very precious. They had to be transported to the capital. The difference was that when Zhang Xiaobao's petition passed by the Ministry of Appointments, the officials saw that it was Zhang Xiaobao and immediately sent it to the head of the secretariat. When the head of the secretariat saw Zhang Xiaobao's petition, he immediately went to find Gao Lishir. Then Gao Lishir sent it to Li Longji. Li Qingying's petition was sent to an assistant minister of the Ministry of Appointments. The assistant minister seriously wrote a reply and sent a letter back. He asked Li Qingying to send a witness to follow them to the capital. He also wrote a more detailed description of what happened. When Li Longji saw the letter, he knew that Zhang Xiaobao had completed the plan of conscripting 30,000 soldiers. He also increased the population of Jili province by 130,000. He raised the issue of conscripting soldiers in the imperial court. All the officials were dumbfounded. If these words didn't come out from the emperor's mouth, they would never believe that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would be sent to a place so poor that there wasn't even a single person there. Then, they would never believe that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would be able to get a population of 130,000 through local operations. The officials looked at each other. They really did not know what to say. Could it be that people with ability could not be suppressed by the emperor? The person with the most complicated feelings was Zhang Shua. At first, he wanted to burn the petition sent by Zhang Xiaobao and pretend that it did not happen. However, he knew that it was not his responsibility to burn the petition sent by the official route, but not the pigeons flying in the sky. Seeing that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had conscripted 30,000 conscripted soldiers in Jili province, this was a very strong impact on his conscripting system. If it was really feasible, his conscripting system would be finished. At this time, seeing that the emperor wanted to let the officials discuss, he could only say first, "Your Majesty, I think that Jili province's provincial governor Zhang Xiaobao and military registrar Wang Wan's plan is not feasible. First, the families of the 30,000 soldiers are all supported by the two of them. They can't learn elsewhere. Second, the 30,000 soldiers have 3 meals a day, and there is meat in every meal. If all the soldiers in Tang were to learn, there would not be enough meat and the cost would be even greater." Yuan Qianyao, who usually did not get along with Zhang Shua, also stood out and said, "Your Majesty, I think that Lord Zhang is right. The Jili province model is not feasible. We can only let Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan do it first. When the two of them find a better way, we can promote it to Tang." Yuan Qianyao objected. He was about to let the other places in Tang learn from Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. However, he did not say that and let Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan think of a better way. Li Longji was just asking. Although Zhang Xiaobao's letter mainly mentioned the conscription and population problem, it was nominally saying that Li Qingying's soldiers in Daxing City were pretending to be pirates. Li Longji did not think that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan deliberately made up a fact to get some people. It must be that Li Qingying was anxious and sent out. However, this could not be pursued. He could only let the officials discuss it again. Naturally, there was no result. Li Longji sent a decree to Zhang Xiaobao and Li Qingying, ordering the two of them to work together to suppress the pirates and ensure peace. Chapter 774. Li Longji was very happy after dealing with the matters in Jili province. He talked about a few issues with the ministers before leaving with Gao Lishir while discussing what to eat for lunch. The ministers who had not left looked at each other. The ministers led by Zhang Shua had a heavy heart while the people led by Yuan Qianyao looked like they were watching a show. They also knew that Zhang Shua was in trouble. Once the recruitment of soldiers was ruined by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, not only would his credit be reduced, his power in the army would also be reduced. Although what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did in Jili province could not be imitated, with their abilities, they would definitely find a better way. There was no doubt about that. With the method that they used now, the treatment of soldiers would probably be better in the future. Even if they died in battle, they would not have to worry about their families. It was much better than Zhang Shua using money to buy lives. Zhang Shua knew that in his heart, but he could not say anything. If he could, he really wanted to use some tricks to deal with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. However, this thought could only be in his heart and could not be turned into actual action. First, no matter how much Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did, they were still children in terms of age. If he did anything to them, not to mention what the emperor would do, the world would not let him go. Of course, if it was only someone else who said it, he could hold it in. The most important thing was that if he did anything to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, it was very likely that he would be punished. In the past, he wasn't clear about their personalities. But now, if he still didn't know, how could he be the prime minister? They had fought twice, and he had lost both times. With their vengeful personalities, if they really made a move, the most unbearable result would be a counterattack from them. Lord Zhang, if there is nothing else, we will be leaving. Yuan Qianyao was happy and said to Zhang Shua with a smile on his face. Zhang Shua was in charge of the head of the secretariat. If there was anything, he could gather all the officials to discuss it. At this time, when he heard Yuan Qianyao's gloating words, he nodded twice with a gloomy face. He turned around and led the officials who followed him out. Yuan Qianyao did not care about Zhang Shua's attitude. Anyway, it was already like this. Zhang Jiazhen was removed from the prime minister position by Zhang Shua. How could Zhang Shua let others go? Didn't he want to be second only to one and above all? Now Zhang Shua had new opponents, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Let's see if he still had the ability to take down the two of them. Darren, will Zhang Shua use the mistakes of the Zhang and Wang families to attack them like he did to Prime Minister Zhang? Yu Wenrong originally wanted to leave with Li Longji, but when he saw Li Longji talking about eating, it was obvious that he didn't want to bring him along. He had no choice but to stay. Seeing Zhang Shua and Yuan Qianyao's different attitudes, he moved closer to Yuan Qianyao and asked. He dares. If you want to talk about the mistakes of the Zhang and Wang families, you can find a lot of them. They used their power for personal gain, colluded with the imperial family, overstepped their authority to question the case. Anyway, there are a lot of them. Even the clothes worn by Xiaobei and the others can be counted. But how could the current emperor not know? The emperor didn't say, and he also didn't let others say. If Zhang Shi really dares to attack the Zhang and Wang families with these things, he is dead meat. Yuan Qianyao could casually mention the mistakes of the Zhang and Wang families, including Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's conscription in Jili province. The two of them were not qualified to recruit 30,000 soldiers, let alone 100,000 soldiers in the future. To others it was a capital crime, but to the Zhang and Wang families, it had nothing to do with them. Yu Wenrong was just asking. Hearing Yuan Qianyao's words, he felt comfortable in his heart. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan could not be dealt with. Even if all the ministers in the imperial court worked together, it would still be useless. The emperor was waiting for Zhang Xiaobao to use economic means to attack others. Then Yuan Qianyao said a few more words, and the two separated and went back to their own families. After walking for a while, Zhang Shua suddenly stopped and said to the people behind him who had different thoughts, "Governor Zhang and Adjunct Wang are working in Jili province. You have to help more. That is for the sake of the Tang Empire. You have to know that there are Khitans and Xinlua there. The situation is not so optimistic. If you can help, don't back down." When everyone heard this, they understood. He was telling them that although Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were doing well there, when they offended the interests of Xinlua and Khitans, the two places would deal with them together. He was telling them not to stand on the wrong side. This was also considered a threat. Some people were immediately frightened by Zhang Shua's words, while others began to oppose Zhang Shua from the bottom of their hearts. As for scaring people, if it was another official who went to Jili province to be an official, he might not be able to resist Khitans and Xinlua and act cautiously. However, the people who went there were Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Would the two of them care? The blood of the Tubo people had dried up, but the soil was still red. The Tubo people's spies had run away, and the Tubo people were still begging the Tang Empire to give them food. Would Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan be afraid of Khitans and Xinlua? One was in charge of martial arts, leading the army to fight thousands of miles away and kill countless people. The other was in charge of money, commanding from a distance, and taking lives silently. Who would dare to touch the two of them? Moreover, the new weapons had been shipped over. Although they had not seen the gunships before, if the two of them placed so much importance on it and transferred it over from Luzhou, it should not be bad. Those who had such thoughts began to think about how to break free from Zhang Shua's control. Zhang Shua did not know that his team was no longer as stable as before. He was still waiting for an opportunity, which was the ascension ceremony. At that time, his position would be even more stable. What the people in the capital thought was their own business. However, there were people in other places who stood firmly on Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's side. Liu was one of them. When it was almost lunchtime, he held the letter from Jili province in his hand and read it from beginning to end. He said to Little Worm, who wanted to read it as well, "Zhang Xiaobao's revenge is here." Revenge? Revenge on who? Little Worm was puzzled. Revenge on the Millennium Chamber of Commerce. Li Yu waved the letter in his hand. Little Worm wanted to snatch the letter, but he knew he could not do that. He could only ask, "Hasn't the Millennium Chamber of Commerce already taken their revenge? They've invested so much money, and now they're earning more than what they lent out. That's not revenge, it's a passive counterattack. The Millennium Chamber of Commerce started the war first, and Zhang Xiaobao has been resisting. He didn't take the initiative to attack. Now Zhang Xiaobao is preparing to attack." Li Yu waved the letter in his hand again. Little Worm didn't make a sound this time. He stared at the letter without moving an inch. "Little Worm, guess how Zhang Xiaobao is going to take his revenge?" Li Yu asked Little Worm. "I can't guess. If I could, I'd be a god." Little Worm turned his head away. He was starting to get angry. "If you can't guess, then let me tell you. Zhang Xiaobao wants to attack the Millennium Chamber of Commerce with pottery. He wants to buy a lot of that wire pottery from them." Li Yu finally handed the letter to Little Worm. In truth, the letter did not state the exact steps. It only asked Li Yu to contact the Millennium Chamber of Commerce and ask if they were willing to cooperate with the Jili province. If the Millennium Chamber of Commerce was willing, then they would send someone to discuss the details. If they were not, then forget it. They could find someone else who was also a potter. Little Worm carefully read the letter twice, but he could not see any scheme in it. If they were buying pottery from the Millennium Chamber of Commerce, then the Millennium Chamber of Commerce should be happy. Of course, that was only if the two sides had not fought before. There were currently two types of merchants in Great Tang. The first type hoped that the Zhang clan and Wang clan would cooperate with them. This way they could make more money without worrying about losing money. The second type said that they would rather die than cooperate with the Zhang clan and Wang clan. This was because they had schemed against the Zhang clan and Wang clan before. They were afraid of being cheated and sold off. The Millennium Chamber of Commerce probably belonged to the latter type. Your Excellency, will the Millennium Chamber of Commerce agree? Little Worm asked uncertainly. What difference does it make whether they agree or not? The one who will make a move is none other than Zhang Xiaobao. Why would Zhang Xiaobao care if others are tricked or not? Once he makes a move, he will not leave any chance for others. Liu was very relieved. He did not think that there was anyone who could oppose Zhang Xiaobao in this aspect. Xiao Chong, who had fought with Zhang Xiaobao before, nodded and said, "Indeed. Once the young master of the Zhang clan makes a move, it's like a thunderbolt. There's no way to block it even if you want to, let alone resist. Whether you take the initiative to be tricked or passively accept it, the result is the same. Then help this official make a trip and find President Tian," Li Yu said to Little Worm and began to write a reply to Zhang Xiaobao. He wanted to ask if the two places could work together to develop. Little Worm sighed. He felt sorry for the Millennium Chamber of Commerce. They could have offended anyone, but they had to offend Zhang Xiaobao. Oh, to be more precise, they had offended Li Yu. Li Yu had an older brother who knew Zhang Xiaobao. Today, Qianshi was really pitiful. Go quickly. Being kind to the enemy is being cruel to yourself. These are the words of Wang Wan. If the Millennium Chamber of Commerce cooperated properly, they would not have become like this. They came to my Chongning County and tried to trick me. After failing, they tried to use the loophole in the contract to harm my Chongning County. Then they were tricked by Zhang Xiaobao and did not know how to restrain themselves. They took out money to disrupt the local economy of the same industry. What is this? This is called not giving up on their evil intentions. If we don't teach them a lesson, who knows what they will come up with? Li Yu saw Little Worm's hesitation and guessed what he was thinking. Xiao Chong agreed. He steeled his heart and left the yamen, heading for the house that the Millennium Chamber of Commerce had bought. The house in this county had been bought at the right time. Now, the price of the house had increased. Since the emperor had come here once, the houses on both sides of the street had doubled in size. At this time, Chairman Tian of the Millennium Chamber of Commerce was a little uneasy. It was not because of the weather but because they had thought of another idea. He did not agree but the others did. Therefore he was in a bad mood. Firstly, it was because his decision was not completely approved by the other 5 people. Secondly, it was because this plan would affect the economy of Chongning County. It seemed that every time they wanted to deal with Chongning County, it was not so easy. Chapter 775. At this time, President Tian was informed that someone was looking for him. When he heard that it was advisor Xiao Chong, he couldn't help but shiver. He thought, did they find out? Did they know that we were going to fight again? Filled with uncertainty, President Tian had someone invite Xiao Chong in. His eyes never left Xiao Chong the moment he came in. President Tian, how have you been? Xiao Chong politely greeted President Tian. Same here. How come Advisor Chong is free today? President Tian looked at Xiao Chong cautiously as if he was about to face a tough battle. Xiao Chong didn't stand on ceremony. He sat down in a chair next to President Tian and took the tea from the servant. He smiled and said, I'm not a qualified advisor. Many of the ideas should have come from an advisor, but my master was told by the young master of the Zhang family to make me a mere decoration. Look, the young master of the Zhang family sent me a letter again. Little Worm was just trying to find a topic to talk about. He wanted to talk about the Millennium Commerce Chamber of Commerce. Unexpectedly, as soon as he said those words, President Tian trembled. President Tian, what's wrong? Did something happen in the association? Is it difficult? Xiao Chong became suspicious when he saw President Tian like this. Normally, the other party shouldn't be so scared. Could it be that the Qianshi Chamber of Commerce was going to do something again? Thus he asked again. President Tian already had a guilty conscience. When he heard Xiao Chong's question and thought about what he just said about Zhang Xiaobao, the first thing that came to his mind was that his plan had been found out by Zhang Xiaobao. At this time, President Tian wanted to die. Zhang Xiaobao was mysterious, but to be so mysterious, was he still human? Could it be that Zhang Xiaobao already knew beforehand that they were about to carry out the plan, and sent Little Worm over because he knew that they were about to carry it out? Chairman Tian's eyes were wide open. It was not until Xiao Chong asked him twice that he realized that his forehead was covered with sweat. He shook his head vigorously and said, "It's nothing. It's the same as before." "Yes, it's the same. Don't worry. I can't think of any way to make money in such a short time. This pottery is not easy to sell." "Is that so?" Little Worm had a look of disbelief on his face. "It's true." President Tian was very certain. "Since there's no problem and it's not easy to do business now, let's talk about the reason why I'm here. The young master of the Zhang family is no longer in the capital, but in Jili province. It's not easy to develop there, so we need to cooperate with other places. Do you understand, President Tian?" Xiao Chong started to talk about the business. Even though he knew that President Tian was hiding something, he was not worried. He believed that Zhang Xiaobao could handle it well. But these words sounded different to President Tian. He was overthinking things, thinking that Little Worm was implying that Zhang Xiaobao already knew their plan. Did they really think that they could use the plan they had secretly hatched in front of Zhang Xiaobao? Now Zhang Xiaobao has gone to Jili province and is preparing to scheme against them from there. Let me warn you, don't stretch out your hands or you will be caught. Also, Zhang Xiaobao needs money there. Can't you give him some money? President Tian thought so. He was shocked by Zhang Xiaobao's magic. After hesitating for a while, he said to Xiao Chong, "Master Chong, how much money does the young master of the Zhang family need? My Millennium Commerce Chamber of Commerce still has some money left. Perhaps we can help." President Tian, you think too much. How can the little money left be enough to do business in Jili province? The young master of the Zhang family will not ask you for money. I think he knows that you don't have it easy, so he suggested another way, which is to cooperate with you in Chongning County and do business with Jili province. Xiao Chong was deliberately scaring President Tian. After all, President Tian had acted so differently just now. President Tian misunderstood again. He thought that Xiao Chong thought that he could not give enough money. But no matter how much money he had, he could not give it to Zhang Xiaobao for no reason. Thinking of this, President Tian became angry. He decided that he would not be fooled by Zhang Xiaobao no matter what he did. So he asked, "What kind of business do we do together?" "What kind of business can it be?" "Pottery, of course. The young master of the Zhang family wants to do business with pottery in Jili province. He will send people to buy pottery in our county. Then the sales of the Qianshi Chamber of Commerce will increase." President Tian, I don't want to talk too much. But based on our relationship, if I don't give you some advice, I won't feel good if you suffer losses. Don't you think so? Xiao Chong now had the upper hand, so he had a great advantage in front of President Tian. President Tian nodded and said, "Yes, Master Chong, thank you for your advice. Do you have any good advice?" "Can't say good advice. I just want to say that what the Qianshi Chamber of Commerce said to my master is written in the contract. If we can't double the profit in 3 years, everything here will belong to Chongning County. President Tian, your money is used to buy goods. You can't withdraw it even if you want to. You have to hurry up." Yes, hurry up." President Tian regretted it now. He had invested all his money, but the business was not going as well as he had thought. If they couldn't double the profit in 3 years, the 150,000 string of coins in the beginning would be gone. This was written in the contract. 150,000 strings of coins. According to this calculation, they would lose 50,000 strings of coins a year. In this world, except for the Zhang family and the Wang family, Who dared to say that they could make 50,000 strings of coins a year? Who dared to say that it didn't matter even if they lost 50,000 strings of coins a year? 50,000 strings of coins, if converted into rice, was enough to feed 50,000 families for a year. Xiao Chong now admired Zhang Xiaobao so much that he prostrated himself before him. He asked President Tian, "President Tian, do you mean you agreed to do business with Jili province?" President Tian was stunned and began to think about whether to do it or not. If he did it, it would look good, but who knew what Zhang Xiaobao was planning? If he didn't do it, would Zhang Xiaobao think that he didn't give him face? After thinking for a while, President Tian said slowly, "It's better to think at length. Why don't we ask the young master of the Zhang family to send someone here? We can ask him together and then give him a reply. What do you think?" Xiao Chong didn't know what Zhang Xiaobao was planning. Seeing that President Tian agreed, he nodded and said, "Okay, then I'll go back and write a letter to the young master of the Zhang family and ask him to send someone here. President Tian, the young master of the Zhang family values you very much. You have to do a good job." After that, Xiao Chong stopped drinking tea. He smiled at President Tian and turned to leave. After seeing Xiao Chong out of the gate of the courtyard, President Tian let out a sigh of relief as he watched Xiao Chong's figure gradually disappear. He ordered the people next to him to find the other masters. Not long after, a group of people from the Millennium Chamber of Commerce who felt that their plan was about to be carried out gathered. They nodded at President Tian one by one and sat on the chairs next to him. President Tian clearly felt that these 5 people were no longer under his control. He sighed softly and said to the 5 people who were still fantasizing about their plan, "Xiao Chong came here to find Xiao Chong. Just now, Little Bug came here on behalf of Marquis Li, as well as Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao already knows about our plan, so he came to ask, 'President, how is that possible? If you don't say it, then we won't say it. Is Zhang Xiaobao a god? Can he guess our plan just because we thought of it?'" President Tian's words clearly couldn't convince the other 5 people. The one with the white hair directly began to doubt. He even wanted to ask President Tian to spread the news. How could President Tian not understand? His face was gloomy as he said to the 5 people, "If you think the plan is good, why don't you stay here? I'll go back to the Four Seas Academy first and see if there are any new classes in the academy." When the 5 people heard this, they were happy at first. Then they looked at each other and shook their heads at almost the same time. The one with the white hair said, "President, you can't just leave like that. You have to know that all the money before was spent under your plan. Now we don't have any extra money. It's hard to do things without money. Everyone, don't you think so?" The other 4 people nodded. President Tian felt very sad. He never thought that the 5 people who followed him before would come back to force him to abdicate. Moreover, this was no longer as simple as forcing him to abdicate. They also wanted him to help them get more money so that he could leave. If the opponent wasn't Zhang Xiaobao, getting some money wouldn't be a big deal. He believed that the 5 of them wouldn't lose so easily. However, the person they were facing now was Zhang Xiaobao. It was said that he was an existence that was above the top ranks of the Monopoly game. Who would dare to rely on luck in front of him? Thinking of this, President Tian straightforwardly shook his head. "No, I can't take out a single copper coin. The matter that Little Worm came over to tell me is like this." Chairman Tian told the 5 of them what Little Worm had just said and what Little Worm had replied without hiding anything, allowing them to judge for themselves. The 5 people wanted to continue to force President Tian, but when they heard what President Tian said, they looked at each other again. They all lost their previous confidence, and there was an additional burden between their brows. Even if they were very resistant to the name Zhang Xiaobao, they couldn't help but admit that just the name alone could make people afraid. "President, what do you mean?" The white hair who had just called President Tian Yu immediately changed the way he addressed him. Chapter 776. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were still working hard to earn back their capital. Wang Wan had started training the army. Wang Wan had found 3,000 soldiers from Hunan province. She was preparing to train them to deal with the upcoming troubles. The 3,000 people were not obtained for free. They were exchanged for 10,000 soldiers from the province. 10,000 for 3,000. Not only did they have to take care of the food of the 10,000 people, they also had to take care of the 3,000 people. It was impossible to favor one and discriminate against the other. For the sake of the army's combat strength, Wang Wan had also bought a large amount of meat and wine from elsewhere. She fed the 3,000 people with all her might for 5 days in a row. On the 6th day, Wang Wan was ready to train fiercely. If they did not work hard after eating the wine, it would not make sense. Zhang Xiaobao was still in charge of economic matters. 130,000 people. No, it should be said that 160,000 people had to be taken care of by him. At this moment he was only going in and not going out. He had calculated that 1 year, only 1 year, he would need to pay 200,000 strings of coins, including food, drinks and clothes. A child's consumption was more than 2 adults. They needed to drink milk, eat eggs, books, ink, paper and inkstone. Zhang Xiaobao remembered that in Japan, a cup of milk strengthened a nation. He understood that what truly strengthened a nation was not the cup of milk, but the spirit of the cup of milk. No matter how bitter or poor it was, they had to maintain this spirit. He wanted to continue this spirit and let the people of Khitan and Xinlua retreat in front of this spirit. Zhang Xiaobao realized something. Here, or rather the 3 northeastern provinces, there were not that many ceramics that could be used. For example, the Khitan. Ceramics were still good things among them, but because of the transportation problem, the price of ceramics had become very high. When ceramics were transported from other places, whether it was grass or branches of various plants, there would always be a lot of damage. This was especially so when it was transported by land. In a batch of ceramics, it would be considered good if 20% of them could be used in the end. It was the same even if it was transported by ship. After all, the Khitan was not close to the sea. They still had to take the mountain roads. What's more, ordinary small merchants didn't dare to come here, afraid that others would rob them. At that time, not to mention making money, it would be good enough if they were still alive. Zhang Xiaobao was thinking about ceramics. He did not count on ceramics, but there were a lot of pottery in Chongning. He could cooperate with them. The first thing he thought of was the Millennium Chamber of Commerce. In the beginning, he didn't intend to deceive them. He wanted to do business properly, but he was unwilling to give up. He had to take revenge. That was why he came up with the idea of cooperating with the Millennium Trade Consortium. Of course, he didn't know that his name could suppress others to the point of suffocation. He was only thinking about whether the Millennium Commerce would cooperate or not. Whether they cooperate or not, we can weaken them. With this in mind, Zhang Xiaobao sent 2 people from the inner yard to Chongning County to negotiate. After the 2 people left, Zhang Xiaobao leisurely walked to the seaside. He happened to see Wang Wan teaching 3,000 people to swim. Wang Wan had a bow in her hand with an arrow nocked. She was aiming back and forth. She asked the 3,000 people who could swim to swim, and those who couldn't swim to stay in the water. If anyone exposed their chest for more than 2 breaths, she was ready to shoot an arrow. The effect was very good. None of the 3,000 people dared to do it. They were all hiding there. Those who could swim tried their best to swim back and forth in the water. Those who couldn't swim also squatted in the water. When Zhang Xiaobao saw the 3,000 people, he knew that they would be very obedient. It was not because Wang Wan's bow was very sharp, but because Wang Wan was too famous. The army was a place where strength spoke. Of course, there was also the issue of seniority. Not to mention Wang Wan's strength, her command was impeccable. The 3,000 people who could come were all veterans. They wanted to get more benefits, and they also wanted to be soldiers under Wang Wan. That way they would be able to face others in the future. Seeing that the people who couldn't swim deliberately looked wronged, Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan, "Cuckoo, aren't you being too cruel? Wang Wan loosened her hand and an arrow flew out. It was right next to a person who was about to stand up and move for a breath. The person was so scared that he immediately squatted down. How is it cruel? Just take a bath in the water. It's not cold now. As Wang Wan spoke, she knocked another arrow, which made the people in the water even more scared. You don't understand what I mean. If they stay in the water and don't move, they will be cold. It's better to let them catch some small crabs or something and go back to fry them for Xiaobei and the others as snacks. If they catch a lot, they can also send them to school as a reward for the hardworking children. Zhang Xiaobao said loudly to Wang Wan, as if he was concerned about the soldiers in the water. The people in the water who were close by almost fainted when they heard this. They all looked at Zhang Xiaobao as if they were looking at a demon. Wang Wan suddenly understood and nodded. That's right. Why didn't I think of that? It's too cruel to just let them soak in the water. Now listen to my orders. Catch crabs. Everyone catch at least 10. If they catch 10, they can eat dinner tonight. If they don't, they will be hungry for the whole night. If they catch more than 20, they can drink wine. If they catch more than 30, they can eat canned food. Do your best. Following Wang Wan's orders, the people in the water began to catch crabs like crazy. It wasn't because they missed out on a meal, but because if they caught more than 30 crabs, they could eat canned food. They had only eaten canned food once since they came here, and it tasted better than anything they had eaten before. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't think much of canned food. If they could eat normal food, who would want to eat canned food? The two of them watched the 3,000 people struggling to catch crabs, big and small. The only requirement was that they couldn't catch crabs on the beach, because it was very fast to catch crabs on the beach. Actually, I don't want them to learn how to swim and then fight in the water. I just want them to train their bodies by swimming in the water. After all, training on flat ground is different from training in the water. If there is a way to make them not afraid of water and train in the water, that would be even better. Looking at the people struggling back and forth in the water, Wang Wan said to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao didn't say anything. He thought about Wang Wan's words and also looked at the people swimming back and forth in the water. After a while, Zhang Xiaobao's eyes suddenly lit up. He said to Wang Wan, I know a way to make them not afraid of water. What is it? Wang Wan asked in surprise. Listen to me. Zhang Xiaobao began to whisper in Wang Wan's ear. Early the next morning, salt pans were built in suitable places by the sea in Jili province. Although there was less sunlight here compared to Luzhou, it was still by the sea after all. Moreover, the temperature was not low. It was much hotter than Shenyang and Fushun, which were further inland. Many salt pans were built. Just when other people thought that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan wanted to sell the salt produced by the salt pans, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan organized a lot of people and began to carry out civil engineering work in this place. A big pit was dug with the efforts of hundreds of people. Then, cement was transported from other places and rubbed back and forth in the pit. A few days later, a super large open-air swimming pool was built. Xiaobei and the others had been thinking about swimming in it for a long time. They wanted to demonstrate to those who did not know how to swim and at the same time, enjoy the freedom of swimming. This was not a normal swimming pool. After waiting for a few days, the concentration of the salt water in the salt pans reached a certain level. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan asked people to pour the salt water into the swimming pool that was built. While many people were puzzled, Xiaobei and the others jumped in themselves. Not only did they not swim in the water in their swimsuits, but they also took out a lot of food and placed it beside them on a large piece of oil paper. The four sides of the oil paper were slightly folded, but even so, many people found it mysterious, especially the movements of Xiaobei and the others. Normally speaking, they should be lying flat on the surface of the water. Otherwise, they would have sunk. However, at this moment they were actually sitting on the water. Only their legs and the area above their navel had sunk an inch. The rest of their bodies were still above the water. Through the water that was not too deep, everyone could see that Xiaobei and the others did not make any movements of treading water. People who lived by the sea knew that if they were treading water, they would only be able to leave their navel above the water for a short period of time. After that, they would sink again. Everyone first exclaimed in surprise, then carefully observed them. They were looking forward to learning the skills of Xiao Bei and the others. This kind of swimming was not ordinary. Wang Wan watched Xiao Bei and the others perform a demonstration and asked Zhang Xiaobao, "Is there too much salt? Has long been saturated. I reckon that the bottom of the swimming pool is full of salt crystals." Zhang Xiaobao was not thinking about the value of the salt. He was thinking about how to let people who did not know how to swim dare to swim in this swimming pool in the future. This was the artificial Dead Sea, using the density of the salt to lift people up. In fact, normal people who did not know how to swim would not be able to reach the level of Xiao Bei and the others. Xiao Bei and the others did not move their legs, but they were constantly adjusting their breathing. They tried their best to let their breaths go into their stomachs so that they could float on the surface. Hearing Wang Wan's words, Zhang Xiaobao nodded. "Let's not worry about the salt first. Let's think about training the soldiers here first. I think that if we don't have to sell salt, we can make a profitable business." "What business?" "The Dead Sea. There aren't that many rich people who are willing to come here." Wang Wan immediately thought of Zhang Xiaobao's idea, but she did not agree with it. "Who said that we have to do it here? Chongning County is a good place. We can use boats to transport the salt there. When the time comes, we can build a bigger swimming pool there. This can increase the county's tax revenue and attract more people to go there. It's not far from the capital, so we can get a tour group to specially design a route." Zhang Xiaobao's thoughts were not on the local area, but on Chongning County. "Then what do you think is more important, the price of the salt or letting others eat it?" Wang Wan asked again. Chapter 777. With the arrival of summer, the 30,000 soldiers in Jili province were sent out. Wang Wan, the secretary, finally had 10,000 soldiers to command. The 10,000 men were divided into 10 battalions by Wang Wan, and the reinforcement battalions took turns. There were always 2 battalions that were training, while the other 8 battalions were training. What was inconceivable was that the 8 battalions that were training did not use weapons. Instead, they used saws, picks, axes and other tools. While the soldiers were still in a daze, Wang Wan explained that they would first train to build the fortifications. When they could build the fortifications well and quickly, they would move on to the next step. Fortifications were very important. After further promotion, the 10,000 soldiers knew about Wang Wan's ability. Li Longji did not transfer soldiers from Jiannan Circuit, nor did he transfer soldiers from the capital or Luoyang. It was impossible for him to transfer soldiers from Luzhou. Instead, he transferred soldiers from Qianzhong Circuit. Wang Wan was overjoyed. If it was only Qianzhong Circuit, it would not be so bad. However, Li Longji transferred soldiers from the east of Qianzhong Circuit, where Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were from. As the saying went, one would not be able to form an army without a place. It was obvious that their combat strength was mediocre. Wang Wan treated the 10,000 soldiers as her treasures. If they were trained well, it would be very comfortable to use them. With large bowls of wine and large pieces of meat, Wang Wan began to train the 8,000 soldiers who were taking turns to train the fortifications. First, she did not let them receive any military training. Instead, she separated the battalions and began to build fortifications in Jili province. However, this construction was neither a trench nor a city. Instead, they ran to a mountain where there were many trees. Then, they would cut down the trees and build barracks. Then, they would level the ground and move on to the next mountain after they had finished with one mountain. After training for half a month, the people from Qianzhong Road finally realized that something was wrong. This was because when they rotated every half a month, they saw that there were no soldiers living in the barracks that they had built previously. Instead, there were many civilians living in them. The civilians had smiles on their faces. They seemed to be very happy to have a ready-made house. Moreover, the land was leveled. They could plant some things depending on the weather, even vegetables. The soldiers were dumbfounded. Was this the importance of fortifications? It was no wonder that the building had to be sturdy during the construction of the fortifications. They also had to dig a drainage ditch that could be used for a long time. The place that was supposed to be used to raise captured warhorses actually had a lot of piglets squealing. If it weren't for the fact that they had been eating lavishly during this period of time, the soldiers would have mutinied. The place that they had worked so hard to build had actually become the home of the common people. What was this called? Battalion Commander. I quit. This is too much of a bully. No matter how powerful Wang Wan is, isn't it all because of other people's words? Why don't I believe that she has that kind of ability? You tricked us into coming to this godforsaken place just to build houses for the local people. The 2nd Battalion was just in time for the rotational training. When the 1,000 soldiers saw that the place they had built was occupied, a soldier angrily complained to the commander of the 2nd Battalion. The 2nd Battalion commander's answer was very straightforward. He slapped the soldier's head, causing the soldier to stagger. He lectured, "You haven't seen the capabilities of the army with your own eyes. How could you not know how the Yangtze River Bridge was built? Don't you know whose name is engraved in the Tower of 1,000 Souls? We are now conscripts. If you don't work, you won't get a single cent. Look at the new clothes you are wearing and the food you usually eat and drink. These are also money. If you really want to quit, you can go back after 3 thoughts. At that time you will have a sum of money and someone will find a job for you." The soldier touched the clothes on his body. They were made of pure cotton, which could not be found anywhere else. Only a portion of the rich could wear such clothes. He lowered his head and said unhappily, "She should have told us first. She said that it was built for the common people. She lied to me. What fortification? It has nothing to do with fortification at all." Another slap. "Tell you everything. Do we need to tell you what the generals are thinking during war? Training is about to start. Behave yourself. Otherwise no one can protect you. Get lost." After the battalion commander reprimanded the soldier and sent him away, he suddenly remembered that after serving in a new place, he felt that everything around him was very unfamiliar. Furthermore, it was not as comfortable as it was in his hometown. Because of the climate, many of his brothers fell ill. Fortunately, the Zhang and Wang families' doctors were very capable and sent out the best medical teams. Otherwise, there would have been people sacrificing themselves even before the war. No matter how he looked at Registrar Wang Wan, she looked like a child. Even if she was older than ordinary children, she could not get rid of the childishness on her face. He did not know how long she could stay here. He was not sure about following such a person. Just as he was thinking about this, the sound of gongs and drums suddenly came from outside. Sounded quite loud. The battalion commander thought that someone was fighting. Although he was dissatisfied with the registrar, he and others could not be soft when there was a battle. He stepped out of the temporary tent and looked outside. At first glance, the battalion commander was stunned. The soldiers of the 2nd Battalion were also stunned. They saw many local people in front of them. Each of them had a happy smile on their faces and held baskets in their hands. They were gradually approaching. "Messenger, what's the situation?" The battalion commander, who had just come out, could not tell. He could only ask the messenger, who ran over from the side. "Battalion commander, these are the people who just moved here not long ago. They said that they want to reward us and thank us for building them houses and leveling the land. Look at the banner in front of them. I just asked a literate person and they said that it says soldiers and soldiers are one family." The messenger was very competent. In a short time, he found out many things and came to the battalion commander to report. The battalion commander was stunned. He did not understand what it meant. What did one family mean? He and his brothers did not have a home here. If they had a home, it would be in the military camp. What did it have to do with the local people? Just as the soldiers were puzzled, the sound in front of them stopped, and an old man walked out from the crowd. He walked in front of the battalion commander with a smile on his face. The soldiers beside him were still in shock, but they did not stop him. They did not think that an old man could hurt the battalion commander. The old man bowed and said, "I'm the chief of the 2nd Battalion village, which has just moved here not long ago. I heard that your battalion is coming today, so I prepared some food to entertain you." Governor Zhang and Adjunct Wang said that the 2nd Battalion village has a place to stay because of the houses built by the 2nd Battalion village. Compared to a house, compared to having a home, the 2nd Battalion village has too little to offer. I hope Battalion Commander Fan won't be offended. When the pigs in my village grow up, I will definitely kill a few dozen of them and send them to the 2nd Battalion. The battalion commander of the 2nd Battalion understood what was going on. The houses he and his brothers built were indeed given to the local people, but Wang Wan did not take the credit. Zhang Xiaobao was also not greedy. He told the people what was going on. Although it was easy for the army to build a house, it was another matter for the people. It saved them a lot of trouble, so they came to express their gratitude. Their slightly bad mood suddenly changed. Looking at the enthusiasm of the people who welcomed them and hearing the chief's words, the battalion commander quickly waved his hand and said seriously, "The 2nd Battalion did not know that this house was for other people to live here. We came here to build the fortification. Since Governor Zhang and Registrar Wang let you live here, you can live here. Battalion Commander Fan is too humble. That's fine, let's not talk about this anymore." Even Adjunct Wang said that even if we brought it up, the soldiers would deny it. This is what we call the soldiers of the common people. They did work for us, but they don't admit it. Let's not talk about the house, we definitely won't talk about it. This house is really comfortable. How thoughtful of you. Just tell us about how you protected us in Jili province. Battalion Commander Fan, the village has prepared food for you. Don't let them wait too long. Follow me, follow me. The village chief of the 2nd Battalion village said as he pulled the battalion commander forward. The soldiers nearby also heard the village chief's words. They were still complaining at first, but after hearing the chief's words, they suddenly felt that what they did was not bad. Whether it was building the fortification or building houses for the people, at least the people did not forget them. They even used the name of the village. What about the other villages? Was it 2 battalions and 1 village, 2 battalions and 2 villages? The battalion commander, who followed the chief to the crowd, wanted to explain more. As a soldier, he liked to be straightforward. He did not think this way when he did it, so he naturally wanted to make it clear. However, the Muramasa didn't give him the chance. As he pulled him away, he said to him, "I know you are from Jinzhou in Shenzhou Circuit and are not used to eating mutton. It's okay. We have prepared fish for you." The seasonings were given by Governor Zhang. Taste is good. You ate river fish in your hometown. Here, try sea fish. I heard that there are many fish in the river. I don't know if you like it. Try it. If you like it, eat more. If you don't like it, tell me. Where is it bad? It will be better next time. The battalion commander was pulled to the front of the people by the chief's words. There were 300 people living in the 2nd Battalion village. This time more than 200 people came. There were adults but no children. The children were all in school. The people were all carrying baskets. When the battalion commander arrived, they opened the baskets wrapped in linen. Steam came out. Inside the baskets were fish in wooden bowls. The battalion commander unconsciously took a deep breath. He was really fascinated by the smell of the fish. Fragrant, really fragrant. It was more fragrant than the fish he ate at home. It must be the seasonings. Quick, bring the fried fish to the battalion commander. Let him taste it. The village chief called out again, and 2 young men immediately came out from the crowd. The 2 of them carried a large basket and approached the camp chief. When they opened the lid, they saw that the first layer of the basket was filled with 2 wooden plates. Inside the plates were fried fish that had turned yellow. It was the sea sickle fish, or hairtail fish. He didn't know how it was done, but the white parts of the fish had been removed. When he looked carefully, the black parts that should be around the fish's belly had been removed as well. There was a faint fragrance when he smelled it. The chief held a plate and handed it to the battalion commander. The battalion commander was stunned and did not take it immediately. The chief immediately took a piece of fish from the plate and put it in his mouth. Battalion Commander Fan, don't worry. No matter how bad we are, we won't poison our soldiers. Wouldn't that be repaying kindness with enmity? Try it. It's all fried. I told the person who made the fish that this time it was for the people of the 2nd Battalion. They used all the vegetable oil they left at home, afraid that it wouldn't be fried. The chief's words were like a needle that stabbed into the battalion commander's heart. The battalion commander, who was stunned just now, directly reached out and took a piece of fish from the plate. He ate it with all his might. He didn't even spit out the fish bones. He chewed and swallowed it. Although the people from Zhenjiang and Jili province were unfamiliar with each other, this kindness closed the distance between the two places. Battalion Commander Fan, can it be eaten? I don't know what the taste of the people from your side is like, the chief asked carefully. The other people were also waiting for the battalion commander's answer. The battalion commander actually didn't know what the fish in his mouth tasted like. Looking at the people in front of him and thinking about the matter of Shuzhou across the river, he finally understood many things. No wonder the people of Shuzhou worshipped Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao. No wonder after crossing the bridge, no one was allowed to say anything bad about Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. No wonder the soldiers of Shuzhou were so close to the people outside. This was all the ability of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, or the ability of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. Anyway, it was the same. The children they raised were like adults. After eating the fish today, the soldiers wouldn't be disgusted if they did things for the people here in the future. Although they knew it was Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's method, they couldn't refuse this very comfortable feeling. After all, the people didn't have so many thoughts. While the battalion commander was thinking about things, the people led by the chief were still waiting for the evaluation. After a while, the battalion commander finally knew what he should do. He picked up a piece of hairtail fish and put it in his mouth. While chewing hard, he kept nodding and saying, "Delicious, really delicious. You used a lot of seasoning and oil, right? I heard that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family's seasoning is the best." Not much, not much. We didn't enjoy much before. As soldiers, it's enough to eat well. We still count on you to protect us. The chief waved his hand and replied, "Come here, all of you. Eat the fish made by Arying village." How could a person who could become a battalion commander be a fool? He understood immediately. The commoners here took out their daily necessities just to prepare for this meal, and shouted at their subordinates who were still watching from the sidelines. This was the good thing about being a soldier. They listened to their leader and ate when their leader asked them to. 1,000 soldiers rushed over and launched an attack on the fish. One by one they ate without caring about their image. This fish wasn't that delicious. It wasn't fresh, and too much seasoning was used. It lacked a kind of earthy taste, so they weren't used to it. But this fish was made by the people, so it was rare to eat it. In the past, they had never eaten the food given by the people. Even if they weren't used to it, they had to pretend that it was delicious. Among the people of Arying village, except for the chief, who deliberately arranged this matter under the instructions of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, the others didn't know the situation inside. They all followed the chief's instructions. Seeing a group of young men eating there, they felt that the fish they made was okay and were very happy. Chapter 778. Under the deliberate arrangement of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, the distance between the 10,000 soldiers from Tianzhong Road and the local people was gradually narrowing. Although they were not willing to risk their lives for the local people, they no longer rejected the idea of being a soldier and doing construction work. Then Zhang Xiaobao began to buy a lot of pottery from Chongning County. After all, the Qianshi Chamber of Commerce did not cooperate with the people sent by Zhang Xiaobao. One reason was that they felt that Zhang Xiaobao was not a reliable person. Another reason was that as long as they signed the contract, the Qianshi Chamber of Commerce would not be allowed to sell their pottery to the north of Hebei province in the future. If they wanted to sell, they had to contact Zhang family and Wang family and let Zhang family and Wang family sell it. At the same time, they had to be responsible for the transportation. If they were not responsible for the transportation, they had to give up part of the profit. The people from the Qianshi Chamber of Commerce were from Xinlua. In the north of Hebei province, there were only Khitans and Xinlua people. How could they give up the right to sell their hometown? The people sent by Zhang Xiaobao found other pottery makers to sign the contract. The content was the same as what the Qianshi Chamber of Commerce had mentioned. The people who were found later did not think so much. The north of Hebei province was too far for them. They happily signed the contract and sent the first batch of goods to the river, waiting for the ships from Jili province to transport them. It did not take long for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to receive a batch of pottery. They took the water route and packed it. Even so, 1/5 of the pottery was damaged by the time they arrived. Zhang Xiaobao did not distribute the first batch of pottery to the people of Jili state. There were not enough. There were too many people. The first batch of pottery was only 50,000 pieces that could be used. If he wanted to distribute them, he could not distribute one piece to each person. At the very least, he had to distribute a set. Zhang Xiaobao gave the 50,000 pieces of pottery to the powerful people around and further north as gifts. He gave a few sets to each family and used the remaining pottery to buy the coastal land next to Jili province. He bought a seaside and did not restrict the local fishermen from going out to sea to fish. The restriction was placed on trade ships from other places. Any cargo ship that wished to dock had to be approved by the state of Jili. They were able to get such a place because there were very few trading ships. Even if they had a ship, they wouldn't want to come to a poor place like northern Hebei province. Usually, small trade was done by land. People who were willing to take risks came to trade with people here. What Zhang Xiaobao needed to do now was to wait. After the people who received the pottery showed off to others, more people would be willing to buy it at Jili province. He was also waiting for the people he sent to the north to report the specific situation at Mo. Although the distance from Mo to Jiannan was shorter than the distance from Jili province to Jiannan province, the journey was very difficult. They had to find places to replenish their food and water supplies, fight with wild beasts, and climb over mountains. The further north they went, the more difficult it was. By the time they reached Mo, it would be almost winter. They didn't know if the people they sent would be able to withstand it. For a time, Zhang Xiaobao seemed to be very free. Other than exercising himself, he spent more energy on teaching his younger brothers and sisters. He let Wang Wan take care of all the military matters. Wang Wan really asked people to build a big swimming pool at the seaside. She also filled it with saturated seawater from the salt field. She let the 2 battalions who took turns to train learn how to swim. In fact, many people knew how to swim, but it was not standard practice. Wang Wan's purpose was to let people exercise through swimming. Different swimming postures could train different muscles and improve lung capacity. More importantly, they would have to travel from here to North America in the future. She and Zhang Xiaobao discussed it and found that it was too difficult to travel from land to North America. Not only was Russia cold, but the road was also difficult to travel. It was better to walk along the coast and go around Xinlua. If they encountered ice, they would let Zhang who train more dogs and use them to pull the plow. Dogs had to be found in cold places. The hotter the place, the more difficult it was to use the dogs. Who knew how much effort it would take to make the dogs work in the snow? Thus, the swimming training program was decided. Not only would they have to swim now, they would have to swim in the future, even in winter. This way, they could increase the resistance of the 10,000 people coming from the south to prepare for the next year. As the supplier of pottery, Chongning was also working hard. The next batch of goods required by the Jili province was too much. If they did not prepare early, they would have to pay for the goods. Li Yu's life had been very comfortable recently. The Yamen collected a lot of taxes and all the welfare programs had started to be implemented. The plan in front of Li Yu today was to find a place with no roads in Chongning County to dig a hole. It would be best if it was a deep hole with clay. Then he would prepare to draw a river and form an artificial lake in the big hole. He was not sure why he had to do this, but since Zhang Xiaobao said so, he was ready to follow the arrangement. He called Xiao Chong over and thought about the deeper meaning of digging a hole and building a lake together. "Sir, I don't know. Could it be that we are building an artificial lake and putting boats on it?" Xiao Chong was helpless every time he faced Zhang Xiaobao's plan. He did not expect to surpass him. He just wanted to learn more. Who cares? Just dig first. Li Yu thought that Xiao Chong, who was usually very smart, would be able to guess it. Seeing that Xiao Chong was not sure, he decided to do it first. After choosing a good place on the map, he would send people to dig. He would give them a higher wage and good food. Nowadays, it was not easy to find labor in the county. The common people all had things to do, so it was impossible to expect a person to come over and work for a day with a few copper coins. The people in the surrounding counties also moved to Chongning County. The number of immigrants still could not meet the labor needs of Chongning County. While Li Yu was instructing people to dig the hole, many small boats came from the river. They transported the goods from the big boats to Chongning County. The sacks were not big, but they were very heavy. Usually, people who could carry 200 kilograms of grain could only carry one sack. "Young Master Li, the river here is too small. You have to find a way to expand it. Otherwise, it will be a waste of time." Su Si, who came with the boat, greeted Li Yu as soon as he saw him. Li Yu heard that something was sent from Jili province, so he ran to the river to greet him. Hearing Su Si's words, he nodded seriously and asked, "What is it?" "Salt, the worst kind of salt." Su Si signaled a porter to put down the sack. He took out a knife and cut open the sack. Pieces of black and yellow salt were sprinkled out. Li Yu saw it and frowned. This salt was too bad. It was obvious that it was not handled properly. He bent down and picked up a grain, put it in his mouth and chewed hard. He spat it out. There was still sand in it. It was bitter and astringent. He spat a few more mouthfuls of saliva. "Is this sent by Zhang Xiaobao for the people in the county?" "No, it is to be poured into the lake. You will know when the time comes. One is young Master Li buying the salt at a cheap price, and the other is my young master using the salt to buy shares." Su Si explained. Chapter 779. Li Yu got the first real man-made Dead Sea, which was much better and bigger than the one in Jili State that was specially built for soldiers to swim in. At the beginning of autumn, the Dead Sea, which had cost a lot of salt and manpower, appeared in Chongning. It was a very mysterious thing. Those who had not seen the real Dead Sea and had not learned about specific gravity and buoyancy would not be able to understand the reason why the lake in Chongning, which would not sink, appeared. Even if everyone knew that the newly built artificial lake was filled with salt water, they would never know that it was the power of salt that allowed people to float on the water. The simplest example was why people drowned in seawater. It had nothing to do with salt, absolutely nothing to do with it. It was still hot at the time. Chongning's pottery was famous, and so was this artificial lake, named Sunken Lake. The number of tourists here was no less than the number of tourists in the capital. Many of them were brought here by tour groups from the capital, which made Chongning, a county that was not suitable for tourism, become famous. The unsinking lake became a miracle. Rich people came here because of its fame, which made a business circle around the sunken lake in Chongning County. There were people who bought local specialties, made snacks, boiled tea and so on. Especially the two-story houses around the lake that were built at the same time as the construction of the lake. They suddenly became valuable. At this moment, Li Yu looked regretfully at the people going in and out of the houses around the lake. He seemed to be muttering to himself, "Good news, it's also good news. The county's tax revenue has increased again." Hearing Li Yu's voice, Little Worm didn't say anything. He knew that Li Yu was regretting. When the young master of the Zhang family sent someone to discuss this matter, he asked whether they could buy salt here at a cheap price or let the Zhang family and Wang family build houses around the lake. For the former, Zhang family and Wang family wouldn't interfere as long as they took out a large sum of money. For the latter, they didn't have to pay a single cent. Even the money to dig the lake would be paid by the Zhang family and Wang family. In the end, Li Yu chose the latter, thinking that he could save a lot of money. Who would have thought that the unsinking lake would really appear? This was even more magical than the model in Buxin County and the zoo in the capital. Those who could afford it all followed the tour groups to Chongning. Renting out a house could earn them a lot of money. It was the first time he had seen a place where even river water could be sold for money. A fence was built around the outside of the house, leaving only a few key entrances and exits. It would cost money to swim here, and it would cost money to eat here. When one came out of the water and found that they were covered in salt, it would also cost money to wash them with fresh water. Others were not allowed to deliver water. If they wanted to bring their own water, they would be charged a portion of the fee and arranged to a separate location in the lake. In the beginning, there were still people who brought them along. Later on, they realized that people in their positions would be looked down upon by people in other positions. The gazes of others were clearly saying, "If you don't have money, don't come. You can't even afford to pay for water." There were also people who wanted to take advantage of the difference in water prices to come and sell water. In the end, they found that after paying a portion of the entrance fee and deducting the tax, they were basically doing it for nothing. "Milord, shall we go down and take a bath?" Xiao Chong exclaimed in admiration of the young master of the Zhang family, and suggested to the gloomy Li Yu. Li Yu shook his head. "No, I have to wash with water when I come up. It's nothing special. Just not heavy. It's more convenient to practice swimming." How is the negotiation between the people of the Thousandage Chamber of Commerce and the people of the Xiao Bao? Not yet. The people of the Thousandage Chamber of Commerce want to rent a 2-story building beside the lake. They want to display their beautiful pottery and sell it. However, they are not willing to pay the rent. They say that it depends on the number of goods sold and that they will get a 50-50 share. This price is too low. The young master of the Zhang family sent people here to say that the rent cannot be reduced. Moreover, they can only sign a contract every year. They can't sign a contract for 10 or 8 years. In the future, the rent will fluctuate according to the market price. The original contract was only signed for priority under the same conditions. Moreover, the price of the pottery of the Thousandage Chamber of Commerce is fixed. After selling the goods, they have to give the young master of the Zhang family 30% of the profit after tax. Price is too high. I think the Thousandage Chamber of Commerce is regretting it. Xiao Chong explained the situation that Li Yu wanted to know. Li Yu agreed. Yes, the Thousandage Chamber of Commerce is still not convinced. They have lost a part of the pottery market in the northern part of Hebei province. They have lost their monopoly on our market. The pressure of competition is also great. They still want to compete with Xiao Bao. Let's see how they will compensate me if they can't reach the sales result that we agreed on in 2 years. Your Excellency is right. The Thousandage Chamber of Commerce has overestimated themselves. The young master of the Zhang family is busy with other things in Jili province. They can't deal with him easily. When the young master of the Zhang family finishes his business in Jili province and has time to deal with them, it will be a disaster for the Thousandage Chamber of Commerce. Xiao Chong, who had always regarded Zhang Xiaobao as a legend, said with certainty. News of the miraculous nature of the sunken lake spread at an extremely fast speed. People who were a little further away were moved to come over and take a look after sighing at the wonders of this place. Only a small number of people didn't admit that the floating lake in Chongning was a place that God sent to them. Li Longji was one of them. Hearing all kinds of rumors, he took out the map of Chongning and looked at it several times. He said to Gao Lishir, "How about going there again?" "Your Majesty, you can't. We've already been there once this year. Going there again will be a waste of manpower and money." Gao Lishir had never seen a lake that didn't sink. He was curious, but he didn't agree with the emperor's decision. What if we still let Xiao Bao and Cuckoo pay for it? Li Longji thought about the last time he went out. He heard people report that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were using his name to solicit money. Very quickly, he felt that he should ask them to fork out the money again. When Gao Lisher heard that his son and daughter-in-law had to pay for it, he thought that there were no new ways to make money. He was afraid that his son would lose money, so he said, "Your Majesty, it's just a lake that doesn't sink. I'll write a letter to ask Xiao Bao and see what he can do." He should have written a long time ago. He should have written a letter to me first. Why didn't he build one in the capital city instead of going to Chongning? It's obvious that he didn't take me seriously and made me anxious. His crime is punishable by death. Also, he went to Jili State with a plan. He lied to me again. Li Longji had also figured it out. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had initially planned to go to Jili province, just like how they had planned to go to Feng province. They had taken a big detour to get him there and promised him a lot of benefits. However, it was much better than what they had promised him in Feng province. What else could Gao Lisher say? He promised, "Yes, I'll write it right away." The more Li Longji thought about it, the more sullen he felt. He stopped Gao Lisher, who was about to leave, to make arrangements. "One more thing. Tell them to send me more than 10-hundred-year-old ginseng before the new year. Xinluo is close. I don't care what tricks they use. Since they can cheat me, how can they not get 10-hundred-year-old ginseng?" Gao Lisher thought that the emperor was going to give Xiao Bao and Cuckoo a heavy burden. When he heard that it was only 10-hundred-year-old ginseng, he was relieved. A few days ago, Xiao Bao wrote a letter saying that he would send him 20-hundred-year-old ginseng before the new year. He thought that ginseng was easy to get. Gao Lisher nodded and left. Li Longji opened the map of Chongning again and pointed at the lake. "Next time, change the place. I won't be fooled." You're tuning in to the Whispers of Romance YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.